chased validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt up on the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher constantly, making my own climb. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. Whoa. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield.
Welcome to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we're talking about this, that, and everything in between. Got through the Thursday, man. The time is flying by. So we haven't gotten any information yet about whether or not he's going to blow everybody up yet. But we're going to let you guys know as soon as that stuff happens, and then cover the full story on Monday. Here on This and That, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. We don't let the sun rise without going live, but we don't always start on time. And that's why we ask you guys to like and subscribe, and then hit the notification buttons, and potentially go and check out that membership. Where, speaking of the membership, I started putting out some releases today. Not a lot of them, but I went all the way back to January when we started talking about those high interest savings accounts. And I started putting in a step-by-step guide as to what to look for that. And then we started up a release for where our precious metals are for right now. And then over the weekend, I'm going to be giving you guys more information about the health savings account, because I've already put that in there, but I want to put it back in there. The health savings account, annuities, and mutual funds, so that you guys can refresh your memories on that information. And I'm going through all of the topics that we discussed in January and finding all of the financial ones that will benefit you guys and your abilities to make, save, and invest money. And we're going to throw those in there throughout the weekend and going into next week, so that you guys will start having a lot more reference points from the previous shows, all of the step-by-step guides, all of the how-tos. I'm getting those put together and released, where you get at least one a day so far of information that will aid you in your ability to be successful. So with that being said, we're live 7 nights a week. I put a lot of stuff on my plate to make sure that you guys are fully informed. And doing 7 nights a week, we cover different topics every night of the week. Sundays, questions and comments from the fans. Questions about you and what you guys need to accomplish, so that I can give you guys pointers on which direction to look. Then Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesdays, business and politics, where on Monday we talk about how politics negatively impacts your ability to make, save, and invest money. Then Tuesday, we talk about different ways to save, invest, budget money, different ways to look at money, evaluating opportunity costs, as we just did yesterday, or not yesterday, Thursday. Well, today's Thursday, Tuesday. Getting through it. Then Wednesday, we talk to you guys about different countries around the world that you can invest in and potentially live in, which was Wednesday. Then Thursday, today, Friday, Saturday, we give you guys information on personal development, self-improvement, relationship topics, negotiation, socialization, building your brand. And then we segue into things like your raises, promotions, promoting yourself on the way into the company, and then for the most part, promoting yourself on the way out of the company. We discuss retirement. We're going to be discussing retirement and forced retirement, and then we're also going to be discussing your severance packages, termination packages, like when you get fired, when you've got to leave. And depending on the circumstances of how you leave, depends upon the circumstances of how much you can negotiate on your way out the door. Because you're not asking them to keep you on, but what you're asking them to do is to release whatever benefits you have accessible to you, and reallocate funding to you in a fashion where you will be reasonably sustained on your way out the door, not just a sudden stop and a cutoff of all benefits, right? So after all of that, we give you guys information on your 20 and 30-year plans. I surprised myself because we've got brokerage accounts that are paying on a regular basis, and we've got like 17 different accounts at the very least in one of the platforms that we're looking at monitoring right now with dividend rotation. And we've got like 52 of them that we're watching on our watch list, but we've got about 17 to 19 of them that I put into a high octane list for you guys for productivity and results. And I'm going to be, and as I've been watching it, I surprised myself. I'm going to be updating you guys on the performance of it throughout the year, but I've noticed that I'm still dropping dividends from last month, because certain accounts pay within days of the ex-dividend date, certain accounts pay, certain stock options pay 30 days later. So, you know, when I get a dividend payout, like I wasn't expecting it to be there, it's a surprise to me. Now, if you're paying attention to your declaration date, which lets you know how much money is being released on your ex-dividend date, your record date, which is the date that they record you on the docket, really matters, because the ex-dividend date and the record date is not always the same day, especially if the ex-dividend date is on the weekend. The last record date would be the last business day of the week. So if Friday is a holiday, the record date will be on a Thursday, even if the ex-dividend date is on a Saturday or a Sunday. And if Monday is a holiday and the ex-dividend date is on Monday, and the last record date would be Friday. So it's not always on the ex-dividend date, but it is going to be around about the ex-dividend date, at least within 3 days of the ex-dividend date, when you consider holidays and then Saturday and Sunday not being trade days. Now, outside of that, after the ex-dividend date, that's the payout date. Is the next thing that you're supposed to pay attention to. But I don't really pay attention to the payout date, because I've never experienced a situation, nor have I ever heard of a situation where the payout date didn't occur where the announcement was that everybody was going to be paid and you were just one of the ones that didn't. Usually in the declaration date, they will tell you in advance that they're not paying anybody, right? There isn't a situation where you are the only person not getting paid unless your shares are sold or your account is closed down or something to that effect. So I didn't really pay attention to the payout dates, and because I didn't pay attention to the payout dates, I checked the account on a daily basis, and surprise to me, there was a payout. So I was like, reinvest it back in. So and right now I'm riding that volatility. I'm trying to put as much as I can on the 20% stocks that are going to be my high octane drivers for dividend return. And then I'm going to take the dividends from high octane accounts, especially when the market starts to stabilize, and rebalance them into the other 17 stocks so that I can rebalance it back to the different ratios that I put into the stock portfolio that I gave to everybody in the membership. So, so as I watch that, I'm like, hey, I know that when I tell you guys, hey, one of the best ways to go starting out as a beginner is to go and grab the 17 stocks that I tell you guys about in the membership, because I mean, it pays to put money into your pocket, right? And then you actually see the results of your investments when you put up a few $100s or a couple $1,000s and you see 15, 20, 30, $50 here and there throughout the month. Then you go back and look over the last 30 days and you calculate how much money you actually got paid off of the money that was sitting still. And you can then see the opportunity cost on, if I, at these rates, multiply my principal by X number of dollars of investment, then my return would be multiplied by the same. And I would start seeing X number of dollars worth of return, which would give me the capabilities to have a certain standard of living coming off of a brokerage account that does not impact anything else. Again, we're in a situation where you would be satisfied with your decisions to invest and buy and hold into these things because you would see immediate returns. There are no scenarios outside of XRP that I would say is a truly bad investment opportunity if you do your research and you know what you're doing. But the majority of the investment opportunities that are growth stocks, the long-term investment opportunities where you buy into a deal that has to close and produce a profit in order for you to get paid, those opportunities, while still good, if you have the time to wait for the payout date, cash dividend stocks are for those that are financially challenged. This is like the best way to get in there, bro, because you put your money up there and next month you get paid. Plain and simple. Put your money up there this month and next month you get paid. And if you put your money up this month, a couple days before the ex-dividend date, this month you get paid. So you invest in your stock portfolio, and certain stocks that are paying out this month, if you buy the stock before the ex-dividend date, you get paid today, this week, this month. So it's a high motivator for individuals who want to see immediate returns on their efforts. That short-term gratification that sustains you for long-term satisfaction. This is one of the good ways to do it. Now today we're supposed to be talking about the decoding her text instantly, and I got to tell you guys, you may have replayed it in your head 100 times. You ask yourself, was she flirting or just being nice? And you find yourself seeing the list online, top 10 signals and signs that she's into you. You look for the hair flips, leg crosses, and the coy smiles, and then you still end up confused and rejected. And you want to know why, because you're looking for a mythical signal instead of a scientific truth, and her body language isn't showing you what she's putting the show on for you for. She's not really giving you the in-between quill between that old saying, read between the lines. it's an honest gut level reaction, and a lot of times women can't cover it up, and that's one of the reasons why we were covering it today. I know we touched base on this topic one time before, over a month ago, but we're going into it from a different angle today. And I want you guys to understand that the key to seeing it isn't on a specific checklist. It's going to be understanding how she acts normally. So in tonight's show, I'm going to show you guys how to stop guessing and start seeing the real unfiltered signs of attraction. Because we're not just giving you another list to memorize, we're going to be giving you guys a framework for observations that will change how you guys see every single human interaction from now on. Now, the internet is going to be flooded with terrible advice on this, so-called experts that promise to give you guys the secret keys to unlocking the women's minds and selling you guys on ideas that, if you just spot a few specific gestures, that you'll have a cheat code for attraction. But that whole approach is broken. It's like trying to understand a language by memorizing 5 random words, right? And I'm going to tell you guys, hands down, this does not work. It doesn't. Being able to go and talk to a female and try to like when they're texting you on social media or texting you online or something like that, and they try to give you guys like messages, and then you take it the wrong way. Because you got to understand, first and foremost, just when we take text messages and emails outside of the realm of dating, we already take everything we blow it out of proportion, and we take it in the most connotation. You got to understand that's going to be the thing. That's one of the reasons why emojis became so popular, right? Because at the end of the day, you say something that the other person's not going to like. You put a smiley face on there. You put an LOL on there. You put like the smiley face with the tears and the hand over the face, and so what you're saying, it probably is going to feel insulting, but I'm just kidding kind of emojis to kind of add color to the text. Somebody gives you a message, and it is showing you through that message that you just fucked up. And you have to realize that it's not always what you think. So they're not really telling you, hey, you fucked up the whole world and life sucks and I'm never gonna fuck with you again. Really what they're saying is you gotta recognize that, hey, certain things just didn't go the way we had planned, and now we need to pivot and reassess how we get these things done. For example, I was dealing with the maintenance guy. He was working on the lawn care guy. He was working on the yard, right? And doing a good job of getting the forest off of the house, right? And he cut one of the wires to the house. We didn't know it. He didn't get hurt, but now I don't got power to my dryer. So everything else is fine, but the dryer doesn't work. So, I went outside, and he thought that I was going to be pissed off. He thought that I was going to start fussing and cussing, like he didn't know what to do. And I was just like, bro, like, I don't know if he was an electrician or not. And I'm like, I'll get an electrician out here, like, eventually come and fix this. And then I'll just let you know. Like, whatever I paid for them to fix it, you just don't charge me for that when you come and cut my grass, and we'll be good, right? Then I thought about it. He's like, oh, he looked at that wire like, I could do this. And I thought, and I looked at the wire too, and I'm like, well, if you can do it, can you wrap that bit with some red tape or some stuff so that whoever comes through here to cut again know that that's a live wire, But at first he was flipping out, like he was not flipping out at me, but he was nervous and scared, like how was I gonna react because he damaged my house when he was cutting my grass. Accidents happen. You don't expect things to go the way it's gonna go, but it goes that way, right? The thing is that since it doesn't go the way it's supposed to go, now when I talk to a guy, I'm like, hey, before you start swinging your blade, touch the house, like get in there, like come earlier in the day so that you can kind of look at the area that you want to work at before you start working there. Make sure there's no live wires nowhere. And more so, and I said it in the most heartless way possible and in an accidental fashion. Because I'm like, I don't want you to get electrocuted because I need you to cut my grass. So you need to do a better job of making sure that you don't electrocute yourself, because then I won't have a lawn guy. It wasn't like, oh, don't fuck up my house. It was like, don't kill the help because I need you to come to work. Right. So that's one of the reasons why, um, when we look at these text messages, we look at how we look at what is being written, and then we think to ourselves, is this uh, what I think it is, right? So when we're dealing with this in a romantic fashion, uh, we have a whole nother option. We have a whole nother set of problems. And the reason why is because, first, we have this sense of denial where we put ourselves in a position where we think that the person likes us even if they don't. Then we put ourselves in a position where through denial we paint a fictitious picture. And I talked about this on the show before. We paint a fictitious picture about how things could go in a perfect world. And then when we go and approach the person, reality hits. Now, if we were unintentionally delusional, right? We find ourselves in a position where they take that the wrong way. And then we gotta recover from it. And that's one of the reasons why I was covering this on the show before, so that we could come to terms with how we're going to address it, right? Um, I'm over here looking into something while I'm talking to y'all at the same time. um, so if you guys ever hear live on anybody's podcast, uh, you find yourself in a situation where you hear those top secret signs that she's into you nonsense, uh, and you're ready for some more honest and a lot more uncomfortable and a lot more useful information, because I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm not going to pad the scene for you to make you guys feel better about what's going on. I got to tell you what's up so that you can know what to do. Now, in our last video, when we were talking about this topic, we had broke down the scientific ways to read attraction. We had talked about baselines, clusters, context, and a simple 4-step system that I'm going to be putting into the membership coming soon about how to address this situation. Now, tonight, this is technically supposed to be the follow-up, but this is not. Here's 50 more secret cues, right? This is, okay, now that you can see more, what are you going to do with the knowledge? Okay. So tonight's slideshow is going to be about discipline, ethics, strategy. Not tricks, not hacks, not how to never get rejected again, because that's not fucking possible. This is going to be about becoming the kind of man who can actually handle reality, instead of living off of fantasy and mixed signals. So first, we're going to recap the core ideas in a way that plugs straight into your real life. And second, we're going to instantly install a code of conduct. And that's something that we have forgotten, is codes of conduct on how you respond to the signals, especially the discomfort. because we have a double-edged sword on our hands as men. Women play hard to get. Some women like to chase. Some women want to use this method to weed out the people who are truly interested versus the people who were just kidding. But there are some women who are uncomfortable with the approach. So society puts pressure on men to make first contact. Then society puts pressure on men to keep pressure on first contact to secure a positive result. Now, you have to be able to read the room as men, because some women might be kind of interested in you, and some women might be really interested in you, and some women might not be interested in you at all. Some women might not give a shit about you and just not be interested in the fact that you don't have enough money or live the kind of lifestyle that she wants. And she's going to be the most disrespectful one out of all four of those types of women. But the three women that would respectfully decline your position are only going to respectfully decline your position if you do not overstep your introduction. So you have to know when her body language is showing you that she's not interested, so that you can pivot and not put her in an uncomfortable position. Because if she has a forethought of discomfort and a foreshadowing observation of your engagement, and she didn't want that engagement, her anxiety and stress may lead to an outburst of inappropriate behavior that you was not ready for, that she may not have intended. But since she already started, she's not going to, back down a little bit, and then that kind of puts you in a compromising position, because if you retaliate to her retaliation and then she retaliates to your behavior, it was really your fault because you approached her. But that's our responsibility, because we're not in a true egalitarian society where women who believe that women should have the right to be in charge are not taking charge in the magnitude where they treat the men with the level of respect that they would want to be treated by that man. A lot of the times the women dominate the men, and one or two things happen. They oppress the man because they used to be mistreated by some other man in the past, or they lose value in the man because the man is not dominating her. These are the types of women where allowing her to be in charge is not objective by the man. It is just not beneficial to the woman for the man to be in a non-dominant position, because if he's going to lose his girl because he's letting her stay in charge, he has to not allow her to be in charge in order to keep the girl. Now, she wants to be in charge, but she's not going to stay if she is in charge. So you don't really know what the fuck to do. This is why codes of conduct is really important. Third, we're going to be going through some mental drills, how to train your perception in everyday life. And fourth, we're going to be digging into your brain, recognizing confirmation bias, fantasy, and self-sabotage. Self-sabotage is a scenario like me and Steven, we were talking about this the other day. Steven was talking about how, when he dates a girl, like he takes shots at her, he ribs on her and stuff like that, all in the instance of fun. And I was telling him that that's not healthy in 2026 to be in a relationship where you're roasting your partner. Some people feel like that's okay, but your partner may not feel the same. Sometimes we say things and we call it saying it in fun, but the person that we're saying it to, while we're laughing, they're hurting. And the problem is that even if they don't say anything about it, it builds resentment. If you said something one time out the entire relationship, and it could have been a joke, it could have been in the moment, whatever the case may be, some people have the capabilities to overlook it. But if every day, every week, that you're always saying something that bothers me, and you think it's funny and I don't, eventually the person that's getting ribbed on is going to build enough resentment to start lashing out with you negatively. You start ending up in arguments that you didn't know where they came from. You start dealing with passive aggressive behavior, retaliations that you didn't see coming, all because you said something in the moment of what you thought was fun, but it wasn't fun for the other person. Now, when we start talking about self-sabotage comes in a lot of different forms. We're going to be talking about that today, but it's anywhere from deliberately saying the wrong thing in the initial contact that makes the girl not want to have anything else to do with you. But there's also saying too much, doing too much, not doing enough. Basically, subconscious behaviors that you perform that push people away. And that's why I brought that up, because when I told Steven, I was like, look, man, you might find people that might be good with that. But I told him, I said, if you're gonna be like roasting folks, don't roast your romantic partner. You and your romantic partner can roast strangers. You and your romantic partner can roast other people. If you got homeboys that you do this with, and y'all been doing this like your whole lives, you and your girl can rib on one of your friends. You can take shots at yourself in front of your girl, and y'all can take jokes. Y'all can laugh about that, but do not take shots at her, because that will negatively impact your relationship over the long term. And women will sandbag it. They've got a purse like a black hole, and they will sandbag that shit. And one day, when she's mad at you about something, or when you said something that you thought was funny in the wrong place and you overly embarrassed her, that's when she's going to blow up on you and pull all the skeletons out of the closet. She's going to throw up every time you said something negative about her. She's going to put together a pattern where you never say anything positive about her, but you always say something negative about her, and then you put the ha-ha to it like it's funny, but it's not. And you're going to be looking like a very horrible person, right? But then in a relationship, there's also the other areas of self-sabotage. We're going to be talking about that today too. Is that if you want a relationship, you don't piss off. You said, don't piss off someone else's Cheerios. Yeah, that's true. Don't piss off the other person. Whatever you want to do in your relationship should lead to someone else being glad that they're with you. Okay. And then, yeah, towards the end, I'm going to give you guys a way to practice the systematic of doing this, so that you're not just noting along and forgetting it tomorrow. I want you guys to be able to take this stuff with you. So you're going to see these steps. These are some of the step-by-steps that you're going to find going into the membership over the next few weeks, so that you'll be able to be prepared for what's going on in the future. Now, if you're watching, drop in the chat where you're tuning in from, and be honest whether you've ever convinced yourself someone liked you only to find out that they were just being polite. And as you guys throw it in the comments, we're going to get right into tonight's show. Now, before we build on anything else, we need to make sure that we're on the same page. So I'm going to fire off the core ideas from the first session, but I'm going to frame them a little bit differently tonight. First thing we talked about last time was the baseline. The baseline is going to be her normal and relaxed, right? The way she behaves when she's normal and relaxed, her default settings, which can be observed from afar. How she acts when she's not under any special stress and she's not especially excited. If you don't know her baseline, every single signal that you get from her, you think might be like, if you think that she likes you, but it might just basically be fan fiction. Like you want to make sure that you're looking at what you're looking at. This is almost like a lie detector test. They ask you a series of random questions to get a baseline. And that baseline is, how does your body react to answering questions? And then based on that, then they will put you under high pressure questions that should trigger a different response. Now, if your body responds similar to the baseline, you should be telling the truth, even if you're lying. And if your body negatively reacts to the question, then you should be telling a lie, even if you're telling the truth and you're just having a panic attack, right? So you want to find a baseline, because every signal that you get could just be you obsessed with the communication with the other person. And some people's baseline is going to be high energy, hands flying, eye contact with everyone. And other people's baseline is quiet, reserved, low eye contact, small moments. So you can't use the same checklist on both and expect to be accurate. You have, based on how they behave when they didn't know that you were there versus how they behave now that they know that you were there, is how you're able to determine if they're interested in you now that you're there, or if you're getting on their fucking nerves, or if you're just in the way in the moment, right? He said, I get frustrated with her just to find out. Oh no, I get infuriated. Oh no, I'm sorry. Infatuated. Look, I can't even call that dyslexia. I called infatuated, frustrated, and infuriated. That is, look, man, I know how to read. He said, I get infatuated with her just to find out that I'm never getting the first base. Now, if I remember correctly, first base is hand contact in the chest area. That's what I thought. That's what I remember from when I was young, is the first base. Now, uh, I I'm not familiar with all of the baseball cues. So Michael, you might be able to help me out here, because I know that hands at the top is supposed to be like first base, and like kissing action is supposed to be somewhere between first and third base. Um, I don't know what third base is, but like hands in the jock strap, I kind of figured that's somewhere between third base and home. Is that right? Because I go from sure to oh chicka wow wow kind of thing. FX Trader says, isn't it better to bring up something that bothers you before the resentment accumulates to an unpleasant level? That's a fantastic question, Trader. A lot of people are conflict avoidant as well as passive aggressive. And the observation is, you said something that I don't like, or you did something that I don't like. And instead of me spending all day cursing you out about it, I might fuss about it by myself. I might, be complaining about it in the room by myself. Or, I'll be thinking it, but I won't say nothing about it, right? That's how people behave. They might look at you funny and then walk away from the situation, and you think the moment is past, and they haven't let that moment go. It's a lot like if you've ever been with a friend and you did something stupid, and every time you are with new people in your group, or every time you are in the midst of a crowd, your friend reminds you of that one stupid thing that you did. uh yeah, it's gonna happen. So resentment, say for example, if you've got siblings and they always let themselves in your room without knocking, you don't give them permission to be in there, they're just in your room. It frustrates you every time that they come into it, but you never go to them and sit them down and say, look, I don't feel comfortable with you coming into my room without permission. I would have preferred for you to knock on the door and get consent. Even if you knock, if I don't respond, don't come into the room. Like, we don't do that. What we do is we get pissed off that they let themselves in. We yell, we fuss, we cuss, we shoo them out. Then, while they're not in the room, we find ways to barricade the room so that they can't get in. When we're not in the room, we find ways to lock the doors from the outside so that they can't get in. But we don't tell them or have a conversation with them and get mutual respect from them to not come in, right? And this happens in all types of relationships. This is you. If you've ever worked with somebody that got on your fucking nerves, they don't work as hard as you do. You don't go over there and tell them to get off their slacking ass and get the fucking work. What you might do is you might ask them to come help you do something that you don't need help with, just so that you can find something for them to do. You might, ask the boss to put certain other people on your shift because they're more productive. You might ask your boss to put you on a different shift than the slack asses that you're currently on the shift with, because nobody's productive. You don't go to the problem and talk to the problem. You navigate around the problem. And then a lot of times what people will do is not just navigate around the problem, we would dismiss the problem because it's somebody else's responsibility to fix it. Never our responsibility to fix it, but we're inconvenienced by it. So if the situation doesn't work, we've got a boatload of excuses because somebody else was supposed to do what directly impacts us. And if they don't do it, it's not our fault because they didn't do it, but it directly impacts us. So now we're in a woe is me situation where somebody else who wasn't involved in the deprivation now has to provide us with the relief because we've never received the relief because we were deprived by somebody else because we put our responsibilities on somebody else's plate. So would it make more sense for a mature individual to communicate and articulate to their romantic partner about the things that get on their nerves? Yes. But it's equivalent to the one of the fans that we were talking about just this past Sunday, as a matter of fact, where the girl wasn't feeling good. She thought there was something wrong with her legs or her hip or something like that. And she had bent over for her boyfriend to look at when she's touching her toes, how her hips are misaligned. And he started doing this inappropriate action behind her. And she asked him not to do that. And then he said, okay. And then when he got back behind her, he did it again. Now, the whole moment he was playing, but she asked him to stop it. He didn't. Now, each time that happens in a relationship, the person who continues to ask you to stop doing things they don't want you to do and you keep doing it is going to recognize that you're not going to stop. So they're not going to continue to ask you to stop doing things that they know you're not going to do. They're just going to get frustrated with the fact that you're still not doing what they've asked you to do or what they asked you not to do when they've communicated this exact same discontent multiple times before. Michael said, I just say to them, I don't appreciate your behavior. Right, but there's only so many times that you're going to say, I don't appreciate your behavior. Sometimes you got to let them know, hey, you're pissing me off and you need to stop. You're fucking up and you need to quit fucking up. Sometimes you just got to say that. But we don't want to, especially with our loved ones, we don't want to hurt their feelings. A lot of times we don't tell people that they suck at life because we don't want them to feel bad because we don't want to feel bad for being the one to tell them that they suck at life. But bro, if they suck at life and their life is making my life hard, I should be the first person to tell them your life sucks with you in it. So if you take yourself out of your own life, then your life wouldn't suck anymore. Hopefully that doesn't lead down the wrong path. Like I says, it pees me off. And if you're my friend, you won't do it. And believe me, I have many ex-friends in life. But see, that's the point, Michael. You thought they were your friend. You thought they weren't going to do it, and they did it again. And some of us have an unhealthy codependent relationship with our friends, platonic friends, as well as romantic relationships, where we don't want to part ways with our friends because of the relationship that we have built, the years of investment that we put into it. So even though we ask them to stop, we might distance ourselves from them for a short period of time, but we still put ourselves in a position where we're communicating with them regularly after they have failed to respect our wishes, because we don't stand on our non-negotiable expectations for behavior. And as a result, to go all the way back to FX Trader's question, while it is better to bring up what's bothering you with the other person's behavior before resentment accumulates, unfortunately, we don't put in the effort to respect our partner when they ask us to change, and we don't put in the effort to respect our partner to ask them to change. We behave differently with the I'll fix you behavior, and then we retaliate. And then they will fix us with the and they'll retaliate back and forward until the relationship spirals out of control into something negative. Is it what you say? I don't want to hurt your feelings, but you are pissing me off right now. No, I would leave out that first part because I don't give a fuck about your opinion. I don't give a fuck about your feelings, like, because right now I'm coming to you with a complaint. See, that's passive aggressive. That's passive conflict avoidant. When you start the conversation with, I don't want to be mean. I don't want to be offensive. No offense. I don't want to hurt your feelings. But once you put that but there, that but contradicts everything else that you just said. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but I'm about to be the bearer of bad news. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to cut everything before the but and just start the situation with you are pissing me the fuck off right now. And it needs to stop. Now, people are going to tell me that's not the appropriate way to talk to people. No, it's not. But if I have had the time and the effort to sit someone down and tell them the things that I like and the things that I don't like, and now you and I are in a situation where we are post communication. So you already know that I don't like this, and you're doing it anyway. This is the moment where I am just going to let you know that you're not going to get resentment from me. You're going to have an angry person orbiting your person, and you have to recognize what you did and why you're being orbited by someone that is angry with you. So this isn't resentment. I'm purely pissed off at your behavior and your conduct, and you should know why. Because I told you. Now, other people aren't like me. Other people will suppress it, try to hide it, but then they will do certain things like burn your food, even though they'll always make you breakfast. They might decide not to make you breakfast and feed everybody in the house but you. They'll do things like set up an event and go without you and didn't tell you about it. They'll do your favorite activity without you and leave you out so that you can feel as left out as they felt because you did something that they didn't like. These are passive aggressive ways that people behave. And it's just, it goes all the way down to people cheating on each other. Well, you cheated on me, so I'm gonna cheat on you with your best friend. Or you cheated on me and it hurt me so bad, so I'm gonna cheat on you with the person that you have the strongest bond with, whether it's your best friend, your brother, your father, somebody like that, just to get back at you. You know, that's the behavior that we have right now. And we got to change from that, which is why I'm telling you we have to set up codes of conduct. They may short sheet your bed. You gonna lay in the bed, the sheets just, and now you're all tangled up in the sheets and the mattress all. If you're dealing with a woman in a new relationship, you'll probably not be as harsh. No, that's one of the biggest things that a lot of people do, which leads them to be in a bad relationship to begin with, is because as a man, you do not vocalize your concerns in the beginning of the relationship. And women have this innate behavior of deflection. So if it is, because you guys understand this, the situation, right? If you're right, you're wrong. If you're wrong, you're wrong. If she's right, she's right. If she's wrong, saying takes every opportunity of accountability out of her hands. You, as the dude, fucked up because she fucked up. Not because you did anything, but because you're dating her, her fuck up is your mistake now that you have to fix, which takes accountability and responsibility from her. And that's a societal tradition that needs to change. Happy wife, happy life means that you do whatever it takes to put a smile on her face, but she's just going to be there for you to put a smile on her face. That old saying, happy wife, happy life, has shit to do with her making you happy in return, right? And what that means is that no, what men are not going to do, because if you tell her that she's fucking up, some women get emotional. So you're not going to tell her. What you're going to do is she's going to screw it up. You're going to fix it without her knowing about it. She's going to think that she's been doing it right the whole time when she has never done it right, which is essentially lying to her. It's almost like a person in your friend group that's a bad singer, and you tell them that they're an awesome singer. You compare them to like Eartha Kitt and Beyonce and all this other stuff when they sound like two cats in a cheese grinder and two live cats being put in a cheese grinder. And you never tell them how bad they sound because you don't want to hurt their feelings, because you don't want their feelings being hurt to hurt your feelings. Then you find yourself in a situation where a stranger listens to what they say, and then that stranger comes and tells them how bad they are. Then they look at you like, why didn't you tell me? Because I was trying to protect you, right? We say that to our kids. Why didn't you tell me the truth? Because I was trying to protect you. No, I was protecting me. I was protecting how I would feel when you find out, because I don't know how you're going to react, and I'm not going to be able to handle your emotional breakdown. That's why people don't tell the truth to their romantic partners. So early on in a new relationship, no, I'm going to be just as harsh. Why? Because my non-negotiable behavior, my non-negotiable expectations for behavior is I am not putting up with that bullshit in 2026 going forward. So if my partner is about to start fucking up, I am going to have an intervention in the first 5 days of the relationship so that she understands that there's certain shit that I am not going to accept. So we're not going to be 30 days in and she's still doing something that I said don't do, because I've already made it clear that that's the kind of stuff that's going to piss me off, and that's the kind of stuff that's going to lead us to having an unhappy relationship, and that's the kind of stuff that's going to lead to us breaking up, and that is going to be the reason why I'm not going to tolerate it from day one. Right now, women have the fair capabilities of doing the exact same thing. So ladies, I mean, before y'all with y'all misandry mindsets come in here trying to say that I'm misogynistic, it is what it is. Both sides of the relationship should be putting their foot down from the beginning of the relationship as to freedom with the limitations. Don't do these things because that'll fuck up the way I behave in a relationship, but everything else is free game. He said, I just laugh and tell them that they can't say. No, you were trying to avoid a situation. They be trying to avoid situations, and I don't got time for that shit. I hit that head on, because just like with the friend that I tell you about all the time, the one whose mama be taking all his money and spending it on bullshit, I don't sugarcoat nothing. He come and talk to me about shit, and then when we started like 2-3 minutes into the conversation, I'm like, remember when I told you that? Like, matter of fact, he was supposed to be cashing a check for the business, and I was like, you better go check your mama's pockets, boy, make sure she cash that check. No, that's not my mom. My mama wouldn't do that. I don't give a fuck how you. I know you love your mama, but your mama done robbed you a few dozen times. So if she robbed you, she can rob me too. So you need to go pack the pockets down. I ain't got no beef with your mama. See, now I'm not gonna say, oh, I ain't trying to hurt your feelings. No, I said I ain't got no beef with your mama, but your mama done robbed your ass a couple times. So, oh, she can rob me too. Make sure she don't rob me too. I had no chill. I didn't avoid that situation. I hit it at the top of the conversation. Why? Because if I sugarcoat this shit and then the money come up missing, the time it would take to replace the money, the stuff that money would have went to would not get paid on time. So I gotta come out the box the same way I would have came out the box after the shit hit the fan. I'm gonna come out the box that way from the beginning. So I'm the rabid dog as soon as the bell rings. It's not gonna be like 30-second warning before the end of the round. I'm coming out the gate with the 100, right? He said, and that's when lefty and righty come out the pocket. I think you mentioned that there is no 50-50 leadership in a relationship. Yes, I did, because there isn't. There is absolutely no 50-50 relationship leadership scenarios. And the reason being is because you cannot have two leaders leading at the same time. Sports-wise, football team, you have offensive captain, defensive captain, special teams captain. 3 captains on a football team. The offensive captain leads the team when the offense is on the field. Everybody else follows the lead of the offensive captain. The defensive captain leads the team when the defense is on the field. The whole team follows the defense captain when we are playing defense. When special teams gets on the field, special team leads the way. Whenever we got to do a trick play and get that field goal or whatever the case may be. But the offensive and defensive captains are not calling plays at the exact same time. Never happens. Even when Drew Brees ran that screenplay with 3 quarterbacks, he was the lead quarterback. There were 2 other quarterbacks on the field, but he was the lead quarterback. There's only one leader. in every relationship, whether it's a platonic relationship, a business relationship, a romantic relationship. They're one leader at a time. Now, is it a monarchy or is it like a democracy style where the we can take turns being leaders? We can take turns being leaders. It's not necessarily a monarchy, but there is no such thing as you and I lead together. Because if you say let's go right and I say let's go left, which way are we going? I've already talked to you guys about the difference between those relationships where we talk about, damn, it's raining outside, something heavy. I'm gonna keep talking while I close these out because I'm sitting over here like it's raining like a son of a bitch. So y'all remember when we talked about in some of those situations where we give you the hypothetical of the partner that raining like a son of a bitch out there like this. I got the kind of windows that's got bulletproof windows on them and knock out the sound. Now you don't hear the sound. All right, good. Show us rain. No, give me $200. You'll see the rain. He said, sometimes I lead, sometimes I follow. Exactly. And that's what I was talking about. Sometimes you lead, sometimes you follow. So what I was saying was with the 50-50. So for example, in certain situations, I might know what to do. Like, let's say I'm dating a girl from another country. I know what's going on in this country. I might lead the way in this situation. Then when I go with her to her country, she knows more about her country than I do. I'll let her lead the way. Let's say, for example, I'm more about finances and everything. So when financial questions come up, I might be the one that leads that stuff. She might be into, I don't know, arts and crafts, hobbies. She might be a nursing. So if she's a nursing, she might know more stuff about healthcare than I do. So when a health issue comes up, I would defer to her. In situations where your partner has more knowledge on the topic than you do, you can defer to them to lead the way. But it is not possible for both parties to lead. And I was using the example. That's where I lost my train of thought. When we say 50-50, there's only two people voting. In a democracy, one person is always going to have more weight in the debate than the other person, because in a situation where if we don't agree, we're not going to go, we're not going to do it, then that means no has superiority over yes. In a scenario where if we don't agree, we're going to do it anyway, then that means yes has superiority over no. The person who has the priority decision has more than 50% authority over the outcome of the situation. So let's say, for example, we want to take a trip. I want to go to one location and you want to go to another. We don't agree on which location we're going to, so we're not going on a trip. In that situation, the difference between us going and not going, because we couldn't agree on where we were going to go, neither one of us is satisfied, but we're both equally not able to make a decision. But let's say I wanted to go out. You don't want to go out. You said no. Now I can't go out. Your authority supersedes mine. It's not 50-50. Let's flip the side. She wants to go out. I say no. She's going to go out anyway. Her authority supersedes mine. It's not 50-50. So there's no scenario where it is going to be 50-50, 70-30, 60-40, 55-45. Somebody's going to have 51-49. Somebody's going to have more authority over somebody else. Typically, it's supposed to be the person paying for everything is supposed to have superior decision making over the person that's not paying for everything. But usually, the guy submits to the girl because of the sex, and then she has superior authority because if she doesn't get the superior authority, she cuts him off physically and emotionally, which damages the relationship also. How do you explain it to her so she understands without resentment? Well, you cannot explain to women anything where they're not going to resent you. You can't explain anything to women where they're not going to resent you. The fact is that if a woman doesn't get her way, for those women that are not thinking from a logical and rational situation, at the end of the day, they're not going to be satisfied with the outcome. So you cannot explain the scenario where she will understand that she cannot be in charge without her resenting me if she was raised in a household where she thought that the women are supposed to be able to be in charge because that's egalitarianism. That's not egalitarianism. That's monarchism. The old saying, you pay the cost to be the boss. So the person who spends the most money on the standard of living that we have typically has the most authority. Now, women want to pay up to 50%, which means you have less than 50% authority because you don't pay more than 50% of everything, right? Under that dynamic, the person who pays more than 50% should have more than the majority vote, which means that if the man says no, the man says no, and no means no. And you must submit because you are effectively a dependent because you provide less than the head of household, which is why it is identified as the head of household, the leader of the house. For women who want a leader, follow his lead. Michael says, when dating, at what point should you meet her parents? I'm going to be real with you. There are other countries where you meet the parents before you start getting serious in a relationship. When you go from hanging out as friends to before intimacy, but let's make this serious. Let's lock this down into a true relationship, date to marriage scenario. There are cultures where at that point, you're supposed to be knowing who the family is. And you're supposed to be knowing who the family is for a lot of reasons, because you're not just marrying her, you're marrying the family too. Now, in Western culture, because everybody is so independent that they don't have family ties that they include into their decision, they put themselves in a position where they don't tell their family or their friends until the relationship can't be kept a secret. And that's when they're in a position where, let me introduce you to my boyfriend or let me introduce you to my girlfriend because you have to be with me while they are with me. Now, let me introduce you to my fiance because I'm going to invite you to the wedding. That's typically when you meet the family. But before that, no. In Western culture, there's never a time. But I think personally, when you decide that I might be able to or willing to spend the rest of my life with this person, that's the time you should be trying to meet the family. In a real democracy, the dog and cat should have a vote as well. Well, in a real democracy, every entity that is impacted by the decision should have a vote. But the problem that you're going to have in that scenario is the difference between the individuals that are contributing to the outcome versus the individuals that are impacted by the outcome. Now, weighted votes is going to be your investment resource wise versus the impact that you receive. So the kids might not like the outcome, but they're not paying for the outcome. The kids may not be paying for the outcome, but the outcome is not supposed to compromise their stability. It's not supposed to compromise their safety. So even though we're going to decide that we're going to go to Disney World because the kids would want to go and mom wants to go and dad wants to go, dad can't go and go get drunk and with mom, and mom is topless in Disney World because those decisions would negatively impact the kids because who's going to safely drive the kids home? So when you start talking about a democracy, you're talking about the difference between the resources invested versus the collateral damage of the decision. Girl power is for the office and for the home front. Girl power is one of the most toxic things that I have ever experienced in my life. Not for the home. Girl power is not for the home. Girl power is not for the office, and girl power is not for the home. Girl power is for braless women setting Molotovs in people's cars as they walk down the street. It is one of the most toxic behavior patterns that is validated and justified by the female culture. Ultimately, women have the capabilities and the mindset, and actually more of a mindset because men are distracted by their sexual desires. Women are not, more often than not. While women do use their bodies to climb the corporate ladder, at the end of the day, a woman can come off of this without being distracted by, I might want to sleep with that person, right? Her ability to articulate logic and reason to a room full of men in 2026. If it makes sense, it doesn't matter if it came from a girl. 40, 50 years ago, because you are a female, there are going to be two things that the guys are going to be discussing in that meeting. Is she wearing a skirt? And if not, why not? Now in 2026, she could have the best idea in the room, and because it makes sense, the men will do it. A lot of men don't give a shit because I get paid to be here. So if I'm not making the decisions, fuck. Because I'm in this meeting, I don't have to be drafting papers. So I'll just be here. You can make all the decisions. So girl power, which actually is the oppression of other people, not just men. Girl power is the oppression of other people to be the authoritarian. I don't like that. I don't like that logic at all, you know? And then when you bring that behavior back to the house, the home front, I think that's the worst thing to do, because women have the capabilities to be a leader in society when they're alone. They have the ability to be a leader in the workplace when they are the boss or one of the team leads. But at the house, when you chose to elect someone else to lead you, that is not the moment where you lead your selected leader. That's like me hiring an attorney and then representing myself. That is like voting for an elected official and then running the country without that elected official. That's like hiring private security to keep me safe, and then I'm going to ditch my security so I can go do whatever I want, which prevents me from being safe. There is no reason why any woman should come from the mentality of, I'm going to select this person to protect and provide for me, but I'm not going to let them provide for me. I'm not going to let them protect me. Then what the fuck did you select them for? That girl power is not good. Meeting the parents may not be the best approach. So I'd wait a while before doing that. I'm going to disagree with you, Trader, and I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why, and this is going to make sense. So let's say you're dating a girl 3 weeks, 5 weeks. You really like her. You don't know where this is going to go, but you hope that it's going to last long. You meet the parents. You go over to the parents' house. You're hanging out. But let's paint you a picture here. Dad's sitting in a recliner in his underwear with socks on. Mom is in the kitchen, drinking some sangria at like 11 o'clock. Middle of the day now. They knew you were coming, right? She's rolling up a blunt and drinking some sangria in the kitchen. You walk in the house, your interactions with them is going to let you see what type of environment your current girlfriend grew up in, right? Now, that gives you an observation of what type of interactions you're going to have going forward in the future. Her decision-making skills is going to be heavily dependent upon how mom treated dad and how dad treated mom. Another dynamic, you go meet the family, single mom, divorced 3 times. Mom's logic, all men ain't shit. She grew up in this environment. She might be the oldest child, which means she was there with the other two. You now understand that he said shotgun on his lap, come on in, son. Her brother hates you, right? You know, so you're in a situation where you see what kind of environment she grew up in, and you understand that this environment conditions her ability to interact with you. So it would be more effective for you to know what you're getting into. Then let's say appropriately dressed attire, everybody's behaving appropriately towards you. But then let's look at, the way mom picks fights with dad for no reason. You don't know what's going on. Your girlfriend's like, oh, this happens all the time. Don't worry about it. Now, think about this. He's been married to her mother for X number of decades, and he has gotten used to the chick flipping out for the littlest thing. Now, that behavior teaches the children that that's okay for women to flip out for literally nothing. Now, what that means is that now you're in a relationship with the type of chick that could potentially replicate the same behavior patterns. Going to meet the family says a lot about the person, which makes it important. Then, if you're going to meet the family and you're on a date to marry scenario, he said, and her sister wants you. You'd have been in a wild scenario, Michael, because you was the one that was dating your cousin's ex, and then bringing them to the family's house a second time. But this dynamic is that not only do you know what kind of family atmosphere you have when you're in a relationship where you're dating to marry, the supportive family will encourage you guys to stay together. So disagreements, they will help you guys work it out. If they don't support your relationship, the family will say negative things about your romantic partner that will convince you to break up with your romantic partner. Planting seeds of doubt will have you misjudge and mischaracterize the situation, which will have you acting out of sorts in this situation, which will have your partner outraged, which will have your partner respond negatively. And because you both got the wrong idea and there's no support in the relationship will not survive. So again, all of this plays into a big role that if you are in a culture where the family is involved in a relationship, you want to meet the family first. Like, as soon as you believe that this is the one, you want to meet the family first. In a culture where the family is never there, you don't go to the reunion, you don't go to the nothing. Like, the only reason why you're meeting the family is because you wanted to bring extra people to the church for the wedding reception and all this stuff to show off. Then you probably don't need to meet them until like the engagement party, right? So that's kind of how I would look at it. Now, the second thing that we're going to be talking about, because we went way down a rabbit hole. The second thing we're going to be talking about today is going to be clusters. One gesture from an individual when after you've monitored their baseline doesn't mean anything on its own. Hair could mean that she's attracted, that her scalp is itching, or that she's just moving her hair out of her face. Crossing arms could mean that she's closed off or that she's just comfortable holding herself that way. I find with back pain that I might just sit in this particular position, not because I have a superiority complex, but because this relieves the pain on the spine, which allows for my ability to stand there and listen to the conversation longer. So one cue doesn't mean anything. So we don't move on just signal cues. We're looking for 3 or more signals in the same direction around the same time. That's what we call a cluster. Michael laid us up. He said, what's the topic? Body language? Kind of. So we're decoding her text and her body language and behavior patterns where we can articulate how the person that's talking to us is into us without them actually saying that they're into us. That's what we were talking about today. We haven't gotten into the meat and potatoes of it, even though we're like an hour and a half into the show. But we're getting there. Now, the next thing that we're going to be talking about, the third thing we're going to be talking about, is context and filters. Context is going to be the environment. Bars versus libraries, parties versus workplace. Filters are things like culture, neurodivergence, trauma, and your own personal bias. A Latin culture's baseline feels very different from a reserved East Asian baseline. A neurodivergent woman's eye contact rules might be completely different from what you've been told to look for. For example, in Asian culture, there's very little, if no physical contact at all, even with people who are into one another. In Western culture, in the beginning, before first physical contact has been initiated, there is very little physical contact between one another, very little hand holding, very little making out, stuff to that effect, right? Now, Latin culture, the greeting is hugs, deep hugs, and kisses on the cheeks. Not because they're into you, but because they're saying hello. The difference between the three cultures is if a female from Asia gave you a deep hug and kissed you on the cheek, she would be expressing affection. If a woman from Western culture would be giving you deep hugs and kissing you on the cheek, she could be expressing affection as a friend or as a romantic partner. Asia, it would be straight up a romantic partner. But in America, it could be as a friend or as a romantic partner. In Latin culture, I don't know who the fuck you are, but how you doing? Cheek, cheek, right? Is I'm a hugger, right? And huggers are, I need to cover that on a topic one day, but huggers are people that are emotionally starved, whether they're voluntarily emotionally starved or if they're indirect or involuntarily emotionally starved, individuals who seek a physical connection because men seek physical connection. We become huggers because the only time that we're able to express a platonic level of intimacy is when we have physical contact with another person through the interactions of a hug. And then if your love language is physical contact, handshakes, fist bumps, a pat on the shoulder, any type of physical contact would provide you with positive dopamine hits. So being a hugger, especially when your love language is physical contact, you can get fulfilled emotionally by hugging people without actually pursuing a long-term permanent relationship to get that level of fulfillment. So, I'm a hugger too, but don't touch me. Counterproductive. So I put myself in a position where nobody really wants to touch me. He might blow my head off. I found it interesting recently. Everybody's like, "Oh, you're the new cop in town." No, I don't. I don't want to put myself in that position. Instead of seeking love in all the wrong places. Not necessarily seeking love, but seeking validation in all the wrong places, because it's not necessarily seeking intimacy is not necessarily seeking love. It is seeking emotional validation, and that emotional validation can come in a lot of different places. It can come platonically, it can come in positive ways, but it can also come in negative ways. Because being a hugger, if you hug a stripper in a strip club, you could probably get beat up and thrown out of the club, unless you're tipping them. But at the same time, you can be in a place where everybody's giving everybody hugs and there's no problem. Now, back to the filter context, right? If you ignore the filters, you might misread people. And you're going to blame them for you misreading their context. A lot of we don't take responsibility for what we do. So I thought she was into me. I'm taking her places. I'm buying her this. I'm doing that, this, that, and third. She's actually just going along for the free ride, and I'm missing all the cues. In that dynamic, a lot of men will blame the girl for allowing him to offer and insist repetitively until she accepts. So now she's on his tab because he kind of pressured her to be on his tab. And she's going to linger with him while on his tab. But when she's ready to go, she's going home alone or she's going home with the girls. Now, he's upset at the end of the night because he thought that she was with him. No, she was just with his bar tab, right? Misread the signs. And then he's going to blame her. Ain't her fault. She was buying her own drinks until you showed up. So you got to pay attention. Now, finally, the fourth one we're going to be talking about is the 4-step system. Scan and observe, which is like paying attention to how they behave before you interact. Then identify the cluster of cues when you interact with them that shows that they're really into you. Test the signal with a small reversible move, meaning that you might make a minute advance that they can easily decline without you receiving extreme, embarrassing rejection. And then if they don't receive that positively, then you can retreat without actually having to put on a scene. Then verbalize clarity, because if you talk about it the way they understand it in a fashion where neither one of you are misinterpreting the situation, you're less likely to continue making mistakes in this interaction. So here's the reframe for tonight, because this isn't about becoming a better mind reader of women, because there's no fucking possible way to do that. This is going to be about becoming a harder uh, person to fool, especially by your own brain, because we typically do this to ourselves, right? So let's set up the first exercise. I want you to think back to the last time that you got your hopes up about someone, maybe a coworker, maybe someone at the gym, maybe someone at the bar. For Michael, you might have to go back like 40 or 5 or 50 years to think about that one person that you kind of did it the wrong way, right? You want to picture that interaction and then ask yourself, what were the signs that you clung to? What tiny things did you blow up into? She's definitely into me. She's definitely into me, when she actually wasn't. And I want you to hold that in your mind, because in a few minutes we're going to dissect exactly where that story got away from you. Right now, Michael says, they're into you when she's shoving her lips into you. So I asked, was I was right? Well, no, that's not true. It depends on the context. Again, context clues. Imagine you're sitting at the bar. Imagine that you're kind of facing this chick, you're into her. She's kind of facing you, right? She's ordered a drink. You're offering to pay for the drink. She's like, don't worry, I got it. Somebody bumps into her. That causes her to bump into you. Now y'all are kissing. She's not into you. Somebody pushed her into it. They pushed her action into your action. It's not the same. Now, different context. There's nobody else at this bar. Like you and her sitting here, just the two of y'all. She leans in, grabs the back of your head, she starts kissing you. The same action of her lips coming in contact with your lips under two different contexts is the difference between her being into you and her not being into you. Then we have to think about, why is she kissing you? Remember, more than one clue, because she could be kissing you because you're buying her a drink. She could be kissing you because she wants to make her boyfriend jealous. She could be kissing you because she was dared to do so, where each one of those reasons had absolutely nothing to do with her being attracted to you. She could be the kind of chick that just makes out with the closest person near her when she's drunk. She's not attracted to you. She just makes out with people when she's drinking. So you have to ask yourself, is she into me in the context of there's no possible way that this could not be her into me? Because she's not behaving this way with anybody else. Now, with that on the table, let's talk ethics. Well, she could be on a one night stand. She could be on a one night stand to make her boyfriend jealous. She could be on a one night stand, pregnant, not showing, to make her boyfriend jealous so that she can tell him that she's pregnant and it's not his baby, even though it is, just to hurt his feelings. Regardless of the dynamic, Michael, she's still not into you. Now, for the sake of those men that only connect with girls just to sleep with them, for those men, if she's willing to sleep with him, they don't care about anything else. That mentality is short-term gratification. Everything we talk about on the show has a common theme of long-term satisfaction. Now, long-term satisfaction is going to be that 5, 10, 20, 30 year scenario. Long-term satisfaction is not a one-night stand. A long-term satisfaction is not friends with benefits. It's not a fuck buddy. It's not like here today, gone tomorrow. It's not a situationship. It's a friendship to marriage or date to marriage scenario. If I'm in the friend zone, you're gonna be my wife. uh because in some cultures they actually do start as friends and they hang out as friends for 2 or 3 months and then they start dating. Now, Western culture, if I'm not in the friend zone in Western culture, because in Western culture, if we're not dating Americans, where I'm not in the friend zone, if you're not interested, there's no consolation. Well, we can still be friends. No, the fuck we can. Short-term gratification is that I can knock the bottom out of it 3 or 4 times and then we can part ways with one another. But if I'm looking for long-term satisfaction, I'm not interested in missing long-term satisfaction with someone else while I'm entertaining short-term gratification with you. Now that is going to be emotional maturity, being able to turn away the short-term gratification because it is not going to be beneficial for you in the overall in the overall long run. Is if you're going to the bar, most likely you're going there to get, well, no, that's not true. A lot of times when you go to the bar, there are people who go to the bar to drink their misery away, self-medicating. You got people who go to the bar because they don't have friends, so they go and hang out at the bar and make friends because it's easy to bond with people over shared activity. Drinking is a shared activity that actually doesn't require physical contact and very little effort. You guys can do it sitting at a table. You guys, you guys can do it while playing pool, darts, whatever. It doesn't require like a specific construct. But Mama did say back in the day that you know what you're getting yourself into based on where you find them. So if you found them at a bar, the probability that that's going to be like a long-standing relationship, it really depends on the kind of people y'all are. Now, again, ethics. This is going to be the part that almost nobody wants to talk about. Once you know how to see discomfort, ignoring it becomes a choice, right? That's what separates I'm socially awkward from I'm acting selfishly. So let's be blunt. If you're learning body language just to find loopholes around what someone feels, you are not learning social intelligence. You are learning manipulation. So we're going into this installing code for the conduct of social intelligence. So if you adapt this code, it changes how you move in every interaction. Make sure y'all remember to like and subscribe and take a look at those memberships. Now, first rule number 1. Any clear discomfort cluster is a hard no, even if they say yes. Not a challenge, not a test, not she's playing hard to get. A discomfort cluster means her nervous system wants out. What does this look like? Well, short one-word answers. Her body angling away from you, especially torso and feet. Exit-seeking behavior, where she's checking her phone, she's scanning the room for friends, she's looking over your shoulder, specifically if she's looking for the door. Or if you were standing in the way of her and her fulfilling her activity, if she's looking over your shoulder at the activity on the opposite side, that is her not wanting to be there with you. You see this cluster, your move is, hey, I'll let you get back to your friends or whatever it is that you were doing. It was nice to meet you. And then you just walk away. You don't have to fulfill a conversation. You don't always have to finish every conversation with, let me get your number. And here I am in 2026 telling y'all from the old school, if I ask you for your number and you tell me, well, I don't really give out my number like that, but I'll give you my social. That's okay. I appreciate the offer, and then just walk away. And I'm gonna be honest with you, if they were really interested in you, They're going to stop seeing social. I don't have social media. That's it. That's it. You know, at the end of the day, they're either going to give you the phone number where you have direct contact with them, or you're not going to communicate with them. And I have a completely personal observation of this that can be backed by a lot of data. If you met them in person and they redirect you to their online social media position, they are putting you back into the queue. Right? It doesn't matter if they progress back to getting your phone number and then meeting in person. My relationship with you in person should be more advanced than if we would have met online. There's absolutely no reason why I would meet you in person and then take a backward step to communicating with you on social media. Because if we're gonna go out on a date and I'm gonna pick you up, I'm not doing this over social media. One, social media guidelines is not to put your personal information into the chat. So there's that, you know. Then option number two is, if you are serious about me, one of the first things that you're going to do with that is showing me a mutual respect level of trust with giving me your real contact information for me to make a real communication with you going forward. FX Trader, the bar scene was not a great place for me to meet anybody worth meeting. Nope, the bar has never been a place. Neither has the nightclubs, neither has the gentlemen's clubs, neither has the sports clubs, and neither has the strip clubs. If it ends with club, even if it's a golf club, it's probably not a good place to meet people. What flowers grow on your face? Tulips. Dad jokes. Good job. Now, you got to remember, when you're dealing with individuals that are not comfortable with you being in their presence, you don't want to orbit. You don't want to keep trying to run into her all night long. You want to end that contact with them for the rest of the night. That is your new minimum standard, is if they're uncomfortable upon first contact, you don't associate with them at all ever after. Rule number two, these are our codes of conduct. Remember, interest signals justifies only small reversible tests. So a cluster of comfort or interest, maybe she's leaning in, smiles genuinely, asks follow-up questions, doesn't mean, okay, now I'm entitled to push harder. It means I have permission to take one small step and see what happens. So for an example, stepping half a step closer and seeing whether she holds her ground or subtly leans back, closing the space between the two of you. So you guys might have been at a 10-foot space. She's been kind of leaning in and talking and laughing and hand on the arm and this, that, and the third, and always contact, always facing you. And you go from 10 feet to 5 feet. If she doesn't retreat, then that's a good look, right? You're thinking about a light, a socially normal touch on the arm while telling a joke, and then watching her body right after that. If you touch her and she snatches away, whether that is a trigger from trauma or she's repulsed by you, either one is a red flag. If she doesn't pull away, you're good. And this is appropriate touch on the forearm, on the shoulder, exterior, not like a honka, not like none of that stuff. You know what I mean? Not like a grab her by the back of the neck kind of thing, massaging her ear and all this stuff like that. Not the rizzing thing that these young boys is trying to do, like a something in the platonic area, not like halfway up her thigh kind of thing, like a platonic somewhere on her arm kind of thing, gentle touch that just kind of, lets her know that you guys are having a good time with one another. And if she doesn't pull away, then you're good. A low stakes verbal invite. We're grabbing drinks over there. You're welcome to join for a minute if you want. This type of, if you already have an activity that you're planning on going and you have enough room for her to join, you ask her if she wants to join, if she's interested. And if she's not, you're going anyway. This isn't a situation where I want to take you out, I want to get to know you. Where do you want to go? I'll pay any blank check amount of money. You name it, I'll do it. That's not what we're talking about. If I was on my way to TGI Fridays and, I'm having a good talk with you, I'm hungry, I want to go to TGI Fridays, you want to come with me? Cool. All right. We got, now we've got a follow up. No, I got stuff I got to do, but, I'll take a rain check. All right. Well, I tell you what, let me get your number. I'll send you my information. And then you can contact me when you have the time for us to link up again, which puts the ball in her court to follow up. If she genuinely was interested in you, but she just didn't have the time that day, then she will contact you later on and try to set something up. Michael says, I just looked him in the eye, smile, and a slight wink. Then I move on. Okay. Letting them move the first move. If she's interested, you'll know. Make the first move. So you want to let her make the first move. Oh, I'm that guy that I'm just gonna look at him and I'm just gonna walk away. I ain't even gonna smile. I might nod a little bit if we made eye contact, and then I'm just gonna turn around and walk away. I'll walk slow enough where you can kind of catch up, but nah, I'm out. But I'm not going to do one of them long ass 5-minute Undertaker walks where it takes forever to get to the door. I'm leaving. It is what it is. I'm not lingering, right? So, in taking these small steps to test the situation, she's either invest energy to come with you when you invite her to go somewhere, or she doesn't. She either relaxes into that touch or stiffens up, because some women don't snatch back. Some women just like kind of tense up a little bit. They kind of flinch a little bit, but they kind of just like kind of stop, right? They don't tell you anything. They just kind of, you read the reaction and then you respond accordingly. If any flinching or signs of discomfort that comes about you reaching in, that's it. You resolve the conversation and walk away. Even if it was them with a level of personal insecurity that had nothing to do with you, were interested in you, but the signals show that they're not comfortable with you in that moment, and you pull away, it is their conscious decision to pursue you and stop you. Like Michael said, hey, walk away. Let them chase me. Then because they will articulate it to you. Because right now we're going over nonverbal cues where you're observing that you are allowed to be in this scenario with this woman without catching a case, while she's not telling you it's okay for you to be here with her without catching a case. Because we don't want to be mystical. How do you get 3 of the same charge? Every 10 years, this man gets the same charge and gets a 10-year sentence. And I don't understand how he didn't know that was what got him locked up 2 other times, and now he's locked up a 3rd. When you said a golf club, remind me of the scene with Rodney Dangerfield from the movie Caddyshack. He played an obnoxious real estate guy who terrorized rich people in Bushwood Country Club. You know what? When I said anything with the club, that I kind of had some of the same thoughts. Because sometimes when you go to country clubs, you do have some grounded, down to earth people, but you got some snooty people, you got some entitled people, and then you got some overly obnoxious people. So 3/4 of the people that you would meet there may not be the kind of person you want to affiliate on a regular basis. When you have to go to a place and observe the environment to make sure, before you even start making friends and finding wives and husbands and stuff like that, you need to make sure that you're in the type of environment with the type of people that are on your level to begin with, mentally, right? Before you start trying to find out anything else, especially as men, because as men, we're not out here trying to find these chicks because we're looking for a provider. We're looking for long-term stress-free companionship, and the stress-free part is what we're supposed to be probing for upon first contact. But we don't. Now, rule number 3. Every escalation comes with an easy out. You have to make sure that however you escalate the interaction, you want to escalate it positively where there's an easy out and you actually mean it, right? So if you ever say something like, I'm really enjoying this, I'd like to see you again, easy out. But if you're not feeling it, no worries at all. You have to mean those words. You can't guilt trip her after the fact. No pressure. Remember that. No, are you sure? Because if she says no, you state your intent. You give her a clean exit and you honor whatever answer that she gives you, verbal or not, right? So if you adapt just these three rules, here's what's going to happen. You flirt less by default because you don't need to, but you can creep people out far less, which is a huge benefit. Ultimately, uh, when women are insecure, the man is a creep. When women are attracted, the man is funny, winning, charming, all this other stuff. Same guy, same actions, same behavior patterns, but how she feels about the situation is the difference between him being a creep or not. Then we have the societal uh, arbitration of being a creep. Because while the girl that you're talking to might be into you, but the jealous refrigerator trying to stop you from picking up the snack might decide to identify you as a creep because she's insecure about the fact that she didn't want to talk to her. You got to understand these dynamics. You're going to find out that, you get rejected earlier in the interaction, which saves you time and resources, which actually protects you from falling too deep into the fantasy, which prevents you from being hurt as much and as frequently. You start building a reputation, not just in your head, but socially, as someone who is safe to interact with. That's going to be your code. You say, yeah, don't undress them with your eyes. I'm going to be real with you. I've heard that terminology so many times, but the only time that I can remember ever undressing a woman with my eyes was when she was dressed like a 304. She was dressed like an escort. She was dressed like an OnlyFans girl. She was dressed like a Backpage chick. She was dressed like there was a discount on her hourly rate. That was the only time. If she didn't dress like that, you know, there wouldn't be that opportunity. But ladies, women have to understand, you're wearing bright colors, skin tight clothes. You've got the print in the front and the crack in the back. You've got the seam hiked up in a way where it digs into the crevices so that the crack in the back is emphasized and the print in the front is emphasized. And then you got it hiked up so that not only is the print there, but you also have the baboon paw sticking out, right? Then you got the skin tight, and now I can tell that your high beams are showing. You've got the cleavage. You've got the cleavage so low that you can have a wardrobe malfunction and not know about it. And then I'm not going to tell you because then I get to see the wardrobe malfunction. But if you were modest and conservative, neckline, collarbone length, everything else covered. And I mean, everything from the collarbone past the knees is covered. Nothing skin tight, nothing imprinted, nothing cracked out, no shoulder, nothing else to look at but your face. you know, how do you filter out the bad ones quickly? Well, first and foremost, if you're observing a room, other men have approached this woman before you. You will be able to observe how she responds to guys before you go over. If she's loud and obnoxious, she's going to be loud and obnoxious when a guy approaches And I mean, like, if she's hanging out with her friends and she's loud and obnoxious with her friends, you can hear her across the room. Let's go, big face, woo! Right? She's loud and obnoxious. Now, guy walks up and approaches her. Depending on if she's going to have a quiet conversation with him and then he's just going to walk away, or you're going to get the fuck away from me, you creep. You see, by observing her reactions and interactions with her society, how she's going to react to a guy approaching her. Now, it doesn't always have to be her. It could be the girl that she's with. If the girl that she's with is going to do that negative behavior, it's still a no-go. Why? I understand that there's a social media trend where guys are like, oh, you just walk up and talk to the girl that you're talking to, and then put the other girl in her place and let her know that I'm not talking to you, speak when you're spoken to. You have some women that does have a core upbringing of obedience that will recognize that they're out of line and they will stop. But there are some that have this girl power feminist model, but you can't talk to me like that, and throw drinks in your face, hit you, snatch their friend and drag them on, grab your stuff and throw it on the ground, and while you're picking up your stuff, grab their friend and go off. So if you have one negative person in the group with the person that you were eyeballing, whether it was the person you were eyeballing or not, it's a no-go. That's how you filter it out quickly. Now, when you start talking about the behavior patterns in the relationship, it's all in how you communicate with them. If you're able to give them an instruction and they're able to follow it, then you know that in a relationship, you can give them an instruction and they'll follow it. If you give them an instruction and then they want you to validate why you provided that instruction, you know that you got an argumentative person. So if we were talking and I like you, you claim that you like me, I say, come with me, let's go. Why? Never mind, it's okay. That's exactly how I'm going to do that. Why? Where are we going? Never mind, that's okay. And I'm just going to walk off. If I'm going to tell you where we're going, then I'm going to tell you where we're going. If I say, come on, let's go, and you say, all right, then I know you're not going to be combative. As soon as you say, all right, I might actually tell you where we're going. But because you are argumentative and very selective, like I have to validate it for your approval, that means that I'm going to be in a type of relationship where you have validated for approval. I don't want to be in that relationship. You want me to lead. You're not validating my decision for an approval. You chose me, so you should go ahead and respect the decisions that I make. So how do you handle a situation where you like the wing girl more than your date? Well, first of all, she's not your date. If it's the wing girl, you just walked up to the two chicks, and the one that you walked up to, and there's a lot of men have dealt with this, where they're more interested to the girl standing next to the girl that they're talking to. And that's an awkward position to be in. I'm going to tell you, first thing that you're supposed to do as a man is to decide which one you're walking up to. Now, if you walked up to two girls that are reasonably similarly attractive, they have different features, but they're probably both something along the lines of a 6, right? Maybe a 7, right? Above average, right? Now, one of them is going to have a fucked up attitude and the other one's not. There's a 50-50 chance because there's two girls there. If you walk up to the group and communicate uniformly to the group, the one without the fucked up behavior, that's the person you start being direct with. For example, walk up to both of them. Hi, how y'all are doing? I saw y'all from over there. I wanted to come over and talk to y'all for a little bit. The person that flips out, well, who the fuck are you? Blah, 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 blah. You don't have to acknowledge her. And you look over at the other girl and say, well, I thought you were in particular really attractive and I wanted to get to know you better. The other person, well, I thought you said that you wanted to come and talk to both of us. Yes, I did. I wanted to come over here and talk to the two of you because the two of you are standing here. I wasn't going to ignore one of you so that I could talk to the other one. But since you are behaving negatively, I don't entertain negative behavior. So since you've articulated your approval of my presence, I'm really here for your friend. That's it. And then you finish talking to the friend. If we're talking about the fact that you walked up to two girls, there's nothing wrong with either one of them, but for some reason you're more physically attracted to the other girl, probably because of how she's dancing versus the girl that you're talking to right now, that's going to be lust that you have to deal with, which is self-sabotaging behavior. The fear of missing out puts us in a position of always wanting the other one. But you have to commit to whatever it is that you decide on moving in on. So if you are observing these women from across the room, when you decide to get up and go over there, you should be confident that you're going to commit to it. And then when I say commit to, I mean like the one you're going to stick with for the rest of the night out of this group is going to be the one that you're going to stick with for the rest of the night. You know, so when you walk up to a group, you want to talk to the group neutrally. Right? Then, as they produce fucked up attitudes, you want to select specifically an individual person. And you might be able to go in there and be like, hey, you know, I just want to come and talk to y'all. You know, I saw y'all from over there. Y'all look like y'all are having a lot of fun. I wanted to join in on the fun. You know, what's your names? Blah, 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 blah. You know, my name is whatever. You know, I don't want to get anybody in trouble. Does anybody here have a boyfriend? Right? Now, if there's 3-4 girls there and 2 of them's got a boyfriend, done. All right, they're out of the equation. All right, one of them's got a bad attitude. That one doesn't have a boyfriend. So the other one that doesn't have a boyfriend, that doesn't have a bad attitude, I thought that you in particularly were extremely attractive, and I would like to get to know you more effectively. You know, that you just kind of got to decide how you're going to do it. If you beeline to the group, because out of all of the 3s in that group, you found a 7 or an 8. And you went straight to that person. And then behind that person, you found a 9 that you didn't know was there. Bro, the first one you walked up to, that's it. That's it. Now, if they approach you, because you're talking about a wing girl, if they approached you, and the girl that's talking to you is not the one that you want, the one that's standing next to her trying to help her win you is the one that you want, you're just going to have to tell the truth. Even if that means that you get neither girl. Because why get yourself involved with the one you don't want? Especially when the one that you do want is best friends with the one that you don't want. You'll end up in a relationship with her, longing her best friend. Ultimately, when things don't go right with you and the girl that you're dating, without breaking up with the girl that you're dating, you're going to start sleeping with her best friend. So to prevent that from happening, you know, I appreciate you talking to me, but I kind of was more attracted to her. Period. Even if she says, oh, but I got a boyfriend. Yeah, but, you know, I don't think it's fair to her for me to be attracted to you and she's trying to talk to me. You know, I got nothing against you. I think you're attractive as well. But for me to be, you know, full transparency, when y'all walked up, I was actually more attracted to her than you. Now, that's probably going to hurt her feelings away, but she will appreciate your honesty even if she doesn't project that in her behavior patterns. Because not a lot of guys would be that honest out the gate. He's not disrespecting her. He's not like embarrassing her. He's just being honest. Hey, you know, I understand that you like me, but unfortunately for me, I was attracted to her when you walked up. So while now that I know that you're attracted to me, now I'm conflicted because if I entertain you, I know that I actually wanted your friend more. Now, how does those feelings progress over the years? You could forget all about the friend. You can find out that the friend is a 304 and have absolutely nothing to do with the friend and the girl that chose you, you choose her back. But the fact is that if you're honest from the beginning, even if she stays and continues to entertain that, well, she's got a boyfriend. So, I mean, do you want to talk to me or no? Let's see what's up then. but she knows that you're not going to play her for a fool, because a lot of other guys would have tried to sleep with both of the girls at the same time if it was possible. So your ability to be honest is going to be refreshing to some people. Michael says, I have had that happen at table of girls just to find out it was a table of lesbians. Almost got my butt kicked. Bro, I love a table of lesbians, because I'm going to be honest with you. I went over to the table of lesbians just so that I could be sitting in a table full of girls. Didn't really give a shit if any of them knew who I was. I wasn't planning on taking nobody home with me, because I got a dog in the car when I go to the bar. The table full of girls is petting my dog to begin with when I go to the bar, So, table full of lesbians, I'm like, they could tell me, oh, I'm lesbian. Yeah, but it's ladies' night and y'all drink free, so we can kind of work this out. Right? Is it give me a girl with brains first? I'm gonna say give me a girl with obedience first and brains second, because with the way men are able to be cooperative with a woman, unconditionally responsive, if I can't get that from the woman, I don't really want to go much further than that, because if I'm willing to do what you ask me to do simply because you asked me to do it, you don't have to validate it. You don't have to justify it. You don't have to hit me with the because you said so. I know because you said so. You said, go get the groceries out of the car. And that's not what I was doing. I went and got the groceries out of the car. Not why. I just did it. Now, since that is going to be my core behavior pattern, if I give you an instruction, I expect the same behavior patterns. I expect when I tell you to do something that you do it, not with a why, not with a make it make sense to me. No, because I said do it, you get your ass up and go do it. I'm not going to ask you to do anything I'm not willing to do. I might ask you to go do something I don't have the capabilities to do in the moment. I'm not going to ask you to do something that's degrading or belittling to you, but I will ask you to do things that I expect you to do. And if I'm going to get lip for it, we're not going to go very far. Michael says, I just walk over and ask if anyone wants to dance. No need to even ask about a boyfriend. Nope, I am not dancing with nobody else's man. Social media is too bad in 2026, Michael. Back before 2009, I was the same way. I would dance with everybody's girlfriend because it wasn't anything. We're out, we're all having a good time. Strictly platonic. We dance with everybody's girlfriend and walk out. We Latin dance, we salsa, merengue, and all this other stuff. And there's no problem, right? I don't even touch them inappropriately. I'm not even grabbing butt cheeks or nothing like that. And then going about my day. But in 2026, bro, you could fuck up and dance with this dude's chick, and then that video go viral, and then that girl's boyfriend is fucking up your car at your job. No, that's too much stuff. That's too much stuff. These days, if you are not attached to somebody else, then that we'll go dance. But if you're attached to somebody else, we can sit here and talk for a little bit. Then I gotta move, but I'm not gonna be caught in the crossfire of a remix video where you're trying to make it seem like I'm the villain when I didn't even know what I was just sitting down because this was the only place to sit in the room. Fuck all that. FX Trader says, any good pickup lines come to mind? No, because pickup lines is how you trick girls into. So what a pickup line does is a pickup line triggers the girl's curiosity. It triggers the girl's ability to react and interact. And ultimately, you're going to get her with some wit. And I see a lot of these pickup lines on social media where you're ultimately going to be a very witty person that expresses to them some type of interest that you have in them, or some type of compliment to them that expresses how attractive they are, when you're really lying to their face. You have to understand a pickup line is just like an advertisement. Let's say Rolls-Royce puts up a free Rolls-Royce advertisement with the purchase of a Rolls-Royce. Now, all you saw was free Rolls-Royce. You're going after this Rolls-Royce because you thought it was free. Then when you get to the place to go pick up the free Rolls Royce, you find out that you got to buy a Rolls Royce to get a Rolls Royce for free. You feel mistreated and betrayed because you put all this effort into going to get something that you thought was free and come to find out that there's terms and conditions behind it. That's what a pickup line is. A pickup line gives this girl a false sense of observation of you, where it triggers a lot of the emotions in her that would allow her to entertain you a little bit further. But you're not a witty guy that is always giving her these Casanova statements. You have 1 to 5 pickup lines that you remember that worked on some girls. And with social media, a lot of these pickup lines have gone viral. So you can't take a pickup line that you got off of TikTok or Instagram and use it on a girl and oh yeah, I've seen that video. You understand? Back in the 90s, pickup lines were rare. So when somebody dropped a pickup line, ooh, he's witty, he's smart, right? You can get pickup lines from your grandpa. And because nobody in this neighborhood heard those pickup lines work. But you got to understand the other dynamic of that. It is a pickup line. It's not a keep it line. That's like baiting a hook and throwing a pole in the water, but never reeling it back in. I mean, yeah, you'll bait the hook. Yeah, you'll hook the fish. But will you pull that bitch out of the water and keep it? Or will it just take your ass? When I talk to you guys about longevity, when I talk to you guys about long-term satisfaction instead of short-term gratification, pickup lines are for short-term gratification. The dopamine hits that she gets, the endorphins that she feels from the moment that you drop the pickup line on her, you make her blush, you make her smile, you might confuse her and excite her all at the same time, right? That's not going to last for 30 years. That might last for the first 5 or 10 minutes. That might get you to she might allow you to hold her hand. She might allow you to get her phone number. Until you say something that pisses her off, y'all might talk on the phone and text message one another. And if you can slide a few dozen pickup lines to her throughout the first couple of months, she might love the fact that you're always giving her some one-liner that makes her smile or makes her laugh or makes her blush. But you're not going to be able to do that for 30 years. Especially when she starts getting on your fucking nerves after the first 90 days, when you preferably are no longer infatuated with the sex, when sex is a thing to do. You're not going to be interested in throwing those pickup lines. The pickup lines are going to be like the first thing out of the relationship, right? So as I actually said at the beginning of today's show, in the beginning of the show when I covered this the first time, there are no real good pickup lines to keep a long-term relationship, because it's not about if you get her, it's about if you keep her. What we're talking about right now is the signs, the signs, not the verbiage that shows that she is or is not interested. So even if she doesn't say anything, you know she's not interested. You don't waste your time. If it looks like she might be interested, you do a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more until you get that verbal confirmation. And once you get the verbal confirmation where she admits that she's interested in you, then you can start trying to lead this into a first date and weekend getaways and all this other stuff. But in modern 2026, with people that want authenticity, we want loud advocations where people are putting their interest on the table at the beginning. What do I like? What do I not like? What goals and ambitions that I have? How would I want my relationship to progress? And if you're going to be in it, will you perform now? This type of society that we have right now is not satisfactory for a pickup line. Pickup lines are good for a 30-second or a minute and a half social media skit where you can rizz up a girl, walk off, or rizz up a guy and walk off. And the walk off, that is it. The person that you can like, there's a no pickup line. Walk up to a strange girl and just give her some fucking flowers just because you have flowers in your hands. She didn't do anything to deserve this, doesn't know who the fuck you are, and probably having a very shitty day right now, or a very shitty week, or even a very shitty month. And though that flower or stack of flowers for nothing, and you left into the horizon, she can't even thank you, right? That overwhelming feeling of emotion leaves her lost and confused, which is what pickup lines do. Would you be able to turn that into a wife? No. Would you make her day? Yes. Would she remember you for a while? Probably. But could you circle back in like 3 weeks and say, hey, remember those flowers? That was me. Most you're going to get is, oh, thank you. I really appreciate it. It made my day. And then walk away. It's not, oh, I'm going to be your wife now. A one-liner doesn't get you a 25 or 30-year commitment. Communication will get you a 25 or 30-year commitment. Now, let's do a quick check-in. So think about your last few interactions. How often do you respond in discomfort by backing off immediately? And then how often do you push through because you don't want to lose your shot? A lot of people shoot their shot and then shoot their rebound and then shoot their rebound until they make the point. If you're comfortable sharing, drop something like push or back off in the chat for the last interaction that you remember. Now, as we continue, let's shift from the ethics into the practice, because this code only works if your perception is sharp enough to see what's actually happening. We're going to talk about how you actually train this behavior in real world action. You don't get better at this by scrolling through more videos. You get better by treating the world like your lab. So the first drill you're going to be doing is practicing observing baselines. And in my strong recommendation, you should do this with people that you have absolutely no interest in, which allows for you to analyze your own baseline, because you've got to recognize that you have a baseline too. When you're attracted to somebody, how do you perceive their behavior versus when you're not attracted to somebody? How do you perceive the exact same behavior patterns? Because information bias is when you personally fuck this up with delivering yourself the information because you are biasly attracted to the person. So, first with the drills, the next time you're in a coffee shop, bar, campus, Walmart, pick a person, pick a cluster of people. You're not creeping. You're not staring. You're just doing what humans already do, which is people watching. But you're doing it with intention. First step you want to do is you want to watch them for 2 or 3 minutes, not 20 minutes, not 45 minutes. You're not trying to follow them around the store with binoculars on and bushes like Michael. You want to just, like, as they pass by you, or if you guys are hanging, you're lingering in a line and you're looking at somebody act or interact, whether it's 2 employees interacting with one another or one of the customers interacting with somebody or whatever, observe that baseline. Then ask yourself, what is it? You're looking at their energy levels, because this has got nothing to do with them. This isn't them interacting with you. This is them interacting with their environment. Look at their energy levels. Are they animated or are they calm? Look at their hands. Do they gesture a lot or keep them still? Look at their eye contact. Do they lock eyes with their friends or glance around a lot? Their posture. Do they lean in or do they stay back? And I can tell you, like, I was at a grocery store the other day. There was an off-duty officer that was talking. He was in a line across from me, and he really wanted to interact with people while not trying to bust folks. So He started trying to do a joke with me, and I laughed, but I was worn out. Then he did another joke with the guy in the line with him, and I laughed, and the other guy laughed. He was like, "Oh yeah, I'm getting a lot of laughs," but he was awkward and socially uncomfortable with him forcing himself to interact with other people. I could tell he was really trying to connect with people. Now, I didn't try to make friends with him or anything, but I was able to observe his behavior patterns. He might not be as anxious once he gets to know who you are, right? But he is a very upbeat and outgoing person. Now, this was me observing a man, because when you are practicing this behavior, your goal is to pick a person, not just a chick. You want to observe their energy levels. You want to determine what their hands are doing. You want to pay attention to their eye contact. You want to pay attention to their posture. So you're trying to observe people, not just women, people in a platonic setting, which prevents you from being distracted, and observe their behavior patterns. Then you want to imagine that person was talking to you if they weren't talking to you. What would a meaningful change in their behavior look like? Now, since the guy that was interacting with me behaved the exact same way with the other guy, that was his normal behavior pattern. I did not intrigue him enough for him to change the way he operates for me. Plain and simple. Now, had that been a woman that was interested in me, she might have would have changed lanes and came and had a conversation with me. She might have would have spent more time on my side of the room. You know, if I would have lingered, we probably could have had a conversation while she was checking out. Then we could have walked out the store together. Even if our cars were on separate sides of the parking lot, she might have would have followed me to my car, helped me load my car, and then I would have walked her to her car, helped her load her car. All of that shows interest, right? Completely different from short conversations at the register. So let's do two examples quick so that we understand what baselines look like. I understand that when I talk about baselines, not a lot of people know what I'm referring to. So the first one is going to be a high energy extrovert. And an introverted person that is pretending to be extrovert would be what I was just describing. But let's talk about a high energy extrovert, outgoing person. That's going to be somebody that's going to be laughing loudly with their friends, big gestures, lots of eye contact with everyone, touching their friends on the shoulder, on the arms, turning towards everyone who speaks to them, like really interactive, right? Which means that when they're turning to you, that doesn't mean that they like you, it just means that they're paying attention. That's the baseline. Now, if she turns towards you, and if with you, the energy suddenly drops, the answers start getting short. The gestures stop. Her eyes kind of wander around the room instead of having that direct eye contact like she had with everybody else. That's a massive change from the baseline. That's not shyness. That's her nervous system pulling away, even though she is physically not pulling away, even though she is not articulating discomfort. She is unconsciously, not unconsciously, subconsciously retreating from this engagement without removing her physical body from the engagement. Right? Now, example 2, reversed introvert. She's quiet, small gestures, looks down a lot, maybe fiddling with her cup or her phone, speaks very softly. That's her baseline. With you, maybe she makes a tiny bit more eye contact. She leans in slightly to hear you. She asks 1 or 2 follow-up questions when she didn't really do that with other people. To someone obsessed with big signs, that might look like nothing. But compared to her baseline, that's a huge shift. Those are the small, honest signals that actually matter. Now, the point is no checklist replaces actual watching how this particular human behaves when they are relaxed. If you put up a checklist, it's not going to validate or ratify anything if you don't have that baseline. Now, the second drill we're going to be doing is cluster practices. This is going to be one that's going to train you to stop reacting to the single clue and start working on a collection of clues. So you want to pick a group of people, friends at a table, co-workers, people in the hallway. Ask yourself, who looks the most comfortable? Who looks like they want to leave the group? And what 3 signals tell you that? So you're watching how people are interacting with one another and determining which person wants to be in a conversation versus which one it doesn't. And identifying which clues give you the sign that one person wants to be there and which clues give you a sign that one person doesn't. For example, you see a guy at a party nodding along in the conversation, but his torso is angled away. One foot is pointing towards the exit. He keeps checking his phone. You can feel discomfort even if you don't consciously label it. That's an escape cluster. On the other side, 2 people who are clearly into each other, bodies oriented directly towards each other, leaning in with others while they're speaking, genuine smiles, eyes are involved, overlapping conversations, lots of follow-ups. That means that they're into each other. Practice labeling what you see. So, if her feet are pointed at him, she's leaning in, her face is open and relaxed. She's keeping the conversation going by asking questions. That's a comfort cluster. If you actually go out and you do these drills, the baseline, the cluster, 10 minutes a day, just do it while you're out, do it while you're shopping, do it while you're in traffic. Do it with the female cop that lingers with the traffic stop just a little bit longer than actually giving you a ticket. See if that ticket can turn into you getting her number and taking her out on a date. It's just, pay attention to those cues. Special shout out to Stephen. He said most communication is nonverbal, and that is what men never pay attention to is the nonverbal cues, which is why we're told to read between the lines, because the lines on a page is what was said, and what is meant in between those lines is what is shown. A script does not articulate body language. A script verbalizes the communication between the 2 people. But the body language that's not written in the script, that is what we're supposed to be reading between the lines. Now you guys got to remember, the key is practice this on people that you are not attracted to. Elderly couples, groups of kids in an appropriate dynamic, random group of guys. That's going to remove your emotional bias and lets you train your eyes without your ego screaming in the background, I want to hook up with this chick. Because again, if you try this on girls that you're attracted to, you might be staring at some of her assets and paying attention to her figure and not actually paying attention to if her behavior is for or against the interaction that she's involved in, which prevents you from being able to determine if her behavior is for or against the engagement that you're involved in. Now that we've talked about perception, we have to talk about the enemy inside the house, which is going to be your own brain. Your brain is not a neutral observer. It is a storyteller. And when you to tell one very specific story, she likes me back, even if she doesn't know who you are. That is confirmation bias. If you pick up your date in a junker car, it will be most likely only a one-time date. Well, if I pick up my girl, if I have a date with a girl that is interested in me as a person. And I picked her up in a car that was older than she is. Motherfucker still runs. At least the primary functions work: heat, AC, or at least the fan, windows roll down, the doors open and close, lock, the seat belts work, the brakes work. I don't have to push start it like Al Bundy. And she's not satisfied with the way the car looks simply because the car is like, she might be 25 and the car might be 32. She's not the kind of person I want to be with. If the car is a 2019 and it's got a couple dents on it, a few scratches on it, and she's from 2001, she's a little bit older than the car, but the car is not a S-class something or other. And that's what she's paying attention to, my assets. Yes, the date is most likely not going to continue, and if it does finish, it's going to be a one-time date, not because she's not going to be interested in me because of the car that I drive. I'm not going to be interested in continuing anything with her because her main focus was the stuff that I have, not who I am as a person. Because again, I'm not here going on a date with a girl to entertain my time. I have too many other ways to make money that I don't need to pay attention to losing my time for a non-valuable interaction. Likewise, when I'm dating, I should be dating for long-term satisfaction. If all she cares about is my resources, I'm not going to be satisfied with that type of behavior in the long run, which makes it a pet peeve. So if you look at my car and you think, oh, this isn't a Bentley, oh, it's not a BMW, it's not a 4Runner. All right, we can get your ass out and walk. It's a Cadillac, but it ain't a Cadillac S-Class. It's a Lincoln, but it ain't the black edition. It's a Ford Explorer, not a G-Wagon. That's okay. Steven says that can be seen from a mile away, acting uninterested in the play. I like who likes me first. If I like them, I turn down women a lot lately. Well, I'm getting that way too as well. My homeboy used to tell me, "Love who loves you, brother," and he was a Jamaican. And it makes more sense to pay attention to the behavior of the people around you and determine that they're actually interested in you. And then see if you're even wanting them beyond the physical connection. Because a lot of times, like I said before, guys are really only interested in girls because of the physical intimacy. And once they've slept with the girl, the desire is gone. Sometimes the sex is good and then they want to continue with the sex, but they don't really want much more from her than that. Now that puts the two of them in a compromising position, because if you are dating for long-term satisfaction, not short-term gratification, you are paying attention to the behavior patterns that are not in the bedroom, because at the end of the day, there's going to come a time in your life as a man where that's not going to be your number 5 on the list of things to do today. Which ultimately means that if you can't have an intelligent conversation with her, if you can't find validation with her, if you do not see her value outside of clapping cheeks, then there's no value. Steven says, if my date doesn't appreciate a Toyota with peeling paint, the weeds are the problem. I'm trying to tell you. That's one less thing I'm trying to deal with. The fact that I picked your ass up and you ain't, I got a car and you don't. You sitting over here complaining about the kind of wheels I got. That's okay. That's a lack of appreciation. Before we ain't even talking about gold diggers. That's a lack of appreciation, because you don't gotta drive. You don't even have to bring your, if you have a car, you don't gotta bring your car out. You should appreciate the fact that you're saving gas with these high ass gas prices. Trader says, when a woman claims that she is not interested in money at all, watch out. No woman is telling the truth when she says that she is not interested in your money. I would say outside of the women that already have way more money than you from their own personal financial ventures, not because they've got 8 or 9 other payment options where they got like an OnlyFans page and like 100 subscribers. I'm not talking about that. A woman that is a self-made woman that's got her own business where money is coming in, where she does not need your money. That is the only time when she does not need your money. But that doesn't mean that she doesn't want your money, where women will value a man based on his ability to make more money than her. So if she's making 75,000, he needs to be making 100 to 125. And if he's not making that, she is not going to value him enough to say that his money is not important, because it is. If she's making 100, he's got to at least match that. And there's only like 23% of Americans that make more than 100. So when you notice the cues, that's going to support what you want to believe, and you downplay or ignore everything that doesn't fit into those cues, that's going to be your confirmation bias. So let's break down how this is going to play out. In some common distortions, she smiles because it's her job. You call that attraction. She laughs politely at your jokes. You decide that was a special moment. She responds to your messages with basic friendliness, and you read it as a huge interest. She gives you short answers and angles away, but you tell yourself that she's just shy. In each case, your brain is editing reality into something that is not beneficial for the outcome of your engagement. So we need a counter habit. The thought cross-examination, that's what we've got to do. And using this technique, anytime you catch yourself thinking she's definitely into me, run the 3-step cross-exam. First step, what exactly did she do or say to make you think this? Not your impression, just the raw behavior. She smiled when I approached. She laughed at my jokes. She said that she had fun. That's it. That's what she said. None of that shows interest. Step 2, what are at least 2 non-romantic explanations for this dynamic? Maybe she smiles at all customers. Maybe she laughs because it's easier to be polite. Maybe she says that she had fun because she doesn't want drama, right? Then step 3, what signs of discomfort or disinterest am I ignoring? Was she giving short answers? Did she stop asking questions or ignored the statements and didn't provide very many responses? Did she physically angle away or start stepping back? Did she take long times to reply? And did she stop initiating? If you can't answer those questions honestly, then you're not reading her correctly. And you're worshiping your own individual story. Steven says, if a woman does not want a stable partner, that is a problem. Most women with a lot of money want a toy, not a man. And if a woman is not interested in stability, that is a red flag. Money is part of it. Yeah, that is true, Stephen. There are a lot of women that want men as boy toys, and it doesn't matter if she's broke or not. And those are going to be the guys that don't really have to have their stuff together, don't really need to be looking into anything serious. And the women are willing to invest a lot of time and effort and fun sleeping around with these guys until the women get into their mid-30s and decide that they want to settle down after being ran through by the entire NFL. But at the end of the day, if you are looking for commitment, if you are looking for long-term engagement, and she is looking for anything less than what you are looking for, that's a red flag. So she doesn't have to be here just because you're driving a Porsche for the day. She could just be here because it's spring break. She could just be here because it's summer vacation and she's living her best life. She has no interest in long term. She has no interest in commitment. She's in a position where it doesn't really matter to her about where her future ends up. That is when you're talking to a person or interacting with a person that doesn't value you, because if you don't give her a life for her to cling to, then she won't have a life worth clinging to. And that puts the burden of her stability on you, which should not happen. Autonomy requires her to have her own individual goals, dreams, and ambitions, and the motivation and ambition to succeed with achieving as much of that as possible. Your ability to do the same thing. Now, as a man, you might aid her with her ability to achieve her goals, dreams, and aspirations. But if her goals, dreams, and aspirations cannot factor you into them, then ultimately you are here for the moment. A female basketball star that's willing to hook up with you right now, but she's about to go on tour because they're going to nationals, she is not factoring you into the long term. Are you going on tour with her? Is she not going to go on tour so that she can stay with you? How do you maintain your relationship while she's gone for 52 weeks playing ball in different states around the country? Right? And this is going to be the bigger point. Disciplining your perception, just like this, isn't just about being creepy, because you're not being creepy here. It's going to be about practicing your own mental health and protecting that mental health. Because every time you build a fantasy on top of weak signals, you're setting yourself up for a bigger crash. You're going to fall in love with an illusion. Then you're going to blame her when reality shows up. And reality doesn't always show up quickly. Sometimes you find yourself on Fantasy Island for quite a few months before you make the first move. And then you do make the first move, and she shuts you down. You've got 3 to 6 months worth of infatuation that just got set on fire. There's an increase in STDs right after spring break. Scary stuff. I mean, these days they're going to call that COVID, but I mean, there's an increase in STDs in older ages. So when you start talking about 60, 70, 80 years old, a lot of the women got STDs because there's a lot less protected sex. When you deal with not just spring break, when you deal with summer vacation, when you deal with girls' trips, there's a lot more STDs involved with that. Guys' trips, there's a lot more STDs involved with that, right? So then when you think about that, and you think about the dynamic that in a relationship, you might make that a no-go, that, spring break trips and guy trips and girl trips should not happen, because it reduces the ability for one of y'all to catch an STD that y'all can pass back and forth between one another. Yeah, I said that, pass it back and forth between one another, because if one of y'all get it, pass it to the other one, you get tested, find out you got it, you get clean. The other one's got it, y'all are still intimate, they pass it back to you, they go to the doctor, they get clean, y'all still got it. If y'all both get tested at the same time and y'all both come up dirty and then y'all get clean, then it's less likely to resurface. But the fact is that you're more likely to pass it back and forward, because not a lot of people in long-term intimate relationships utilize protection. Maybe in the first couple of engagements, maybe with the first few interactions. But there are a lot of scenarios where people just don't like condoms and they will find themselves having unprotected sex. So, yeah, STDs are going to happen. And some STDs are permanent and they don't kill you. You are just a host. You're a carrier of the disease, which allows for you to pass it on to everybody that you interact with. And how would you know that your partner is a carrier if they don't get tested before you sleep with them? Again, like I said, it is not a very attractive thing to do, but if you're really going to protect yourself, that's kind of going to be the way you do it. So the practice of being able to retune your conscious bias over things is going to be simple, but it's going to be very uncomfortable, because you're going to treat the story that you feed yourself that feels like the best thing for you as the one that deserves the most suspicion. You want to make sure that the most unrealistic outcome, best case scenario, is the most unrealistic outcome. That's the one that requires the most suspicion, the most nitpicking. So if your inner monologue is, oh yeah, this is definitely going somewhere, your next move is to slow down, not to speed up. Stephen says, if we ain't both getting tested and going to be exclusive, I don't want it. Too old to be taking risks with women like I used to in the past. I made it this far STI free and plan to stay that way. Oh, I hear you. I hear you. These days, it's one of the things like can't remember the last time you got tested. Go get tested. Go get tested. Your most recent test should be right next to your driver's license and your proof of insurance. And you laugh. You laugh. Get pulled over by a female cop. She's gonna be looking at that like, oh, so you're STD free. I don't need that. Um, you might. uh, not a one-liner, but it's like, just in case. Now, as a quick reflection, take that memory that we were talking about earlier, the last time that you got your hopes up and you failed yourself, and ask yourself, what exact behavior did you use as proof to validate what you thought? How many of those could be explained by politeness, content, context, like the situation that you were involved in when you were observing this, or her personality? Then ask yourself, what discomfort signs did you gloss over and completely disregard? Uh, a lot of us ignore the fact that she was drunk when she was making her decisions. You don't have to beat yourself up over this. Mystical did because I mean he caught that charge 3 times in a row. He went in on that charge in the 90s, got out, went back in the 2000s and got out, and he just went back in for the exact same charge. I'm trying to figure out like how. Like that's not, I can see you continuously going back for murder. You're supposed to be a drug dude, but not like you're in there more than R. Kelly, doing more stuff than Bill Cosby, and you keep getting out and going back like Diddy. Like, whew. So don't beat yourself up over this. You just got to change the patterns that you see, change the way you behave and how you approach these situations. This is the ability to be more aware of your situation. Um, Steven says, put on that Lil Wayne, Miss Officer, and accidentally hand her the tester at the traffic stop. Oh, especially if she's wearing one of those those very tight cop uniforms. And she don't look like she's trying to arrest nobody. She look like she's trying to be a model with a badge and some handcuffs. Until she starts being an asshole, you sit over here trying to say, well, after we finish this traffic stop, maybe we can use those handcuffs for something else. All right. With that mental groundwork set, let's put all of the stuff that we've been talking about today into some real world scenarios. We're going to run the system, scan, cluster, test, verbalize through a few common situations. So I'm going to narrate how most guys handle it and then how you should handle it once you've adopted the unorthodox framework that we've been talking about. Scenario A, you're in a loud bar or nightclub. Context is that it's a noisy bar, music loud, people drinking, and everyone standing close just to hear. You see a woman talking with her friends. She's laughing. Everyone's leaning close to each other because they have to. She's touching her friends on the arm, gesturing big. That's the baseline for this particular environment. You approach, say something like, she smiles, leans in, puts her hand briefly on your arm to hear better. Most guys, she touched me, she's into me. You, with new context, it's loud, proximity, and touch are functional here. It might be interest, but it also might just be physics. So you don't crown that cluster of attraction yet. You consider the environment first. You want to test this theory. Hey, I'm going to grab some water. over by the bar, or I'm going to grab me another refill. If you want to keep talking, come join me for a minute. Then you stop talking and you actually move to the bar. If she is investing energy to move with you to the bar, leaving her friends for a minute, following you, that's meaningful. If she says something like maybe later, and stays planted, that's your answer. Oh, if she said, well, I'll wait for you to get back, right? She's not actually redirecting herself for you. You know, if you say, oh, my drink is out, I'm going to the bar, I'll come with you. That's interest, right? Unless she's the kind of person that is repetitively drinking and she's always headed to the bar to get a refill. She's out, you're going to the bar. She's coming with you because she's got to get her a refill too. Remember, if her drink is full and she's following you to the bar to get you another drink, she's interested. If her drink is empty and your drink is empty, she's following you to the bar, she's thirsty. The context plays a huge role. In step 4, if she does come with you, you keep the low pressure going. I like your vibe. I'd be down to grab a coffee sometime when it's quieter. If you're not feeling that, totally fine. No pressure, no dramatics. You give her a clear way to say no and still feel respected. So you guys do go to the bar. You guys do get the other drink. If you continue talking for a minute, even if you're on your way over back to the table, before you get back in front of the group, you want to get her number and start working on future interactions with her in a less loud environment. If she's down for that, she's down for that. If not, well, let's go back over by your friends and finish hanging out. Or if all you were there for was to interact with her, that's kind of the end of the conversation and you walk away, right? You said, hold on. Is that I wish I had known earlier that it's all about numbers. It's sort of like having a sales job. Um, Getting a girl's phone number is not. Back in the day, it was like a sales job. Getting her phone number proved that she committed to you. Because back in the day, she gave the house phone. This was before cell phones came out. Then when cell phones came out, she gave you her direct contact number. Because you got to understand, back when there was a bunch of pay phones everywhere, people had pager numbers, indirect line. They would call you back eventually. Then when people give you their direct phone number, that meant something. When cell phones first came out and people gave their direct phone number, that meant something. Because if I give you the house phone, but I'm never home, nobody's going to answer the phone. You're always going to go to voicemail. But if I give you my cell phone, you now have direct contact with me. That meant something. In 2026, my cell phone means something still because everyone is defaulting to social media, and that is more social distancing than interpersonal interaction. As a man, it is going to be a numbers game. The more times you approach different people, the higher the probability that one of them will connect with you. The more times you put your pole in the water to fish, the more likely you'll come back with a fish. But that doesn't mean that you will. It just means that the probability will be higher. From women's perspectives, at least the women before the age of 30, it's not that hard. You just put on an overly attractive outfit and walk outside and just linger in a crowded place. Somebody's going to come and talk to you. The problem that women have is that it's not always the man that she wanted to come and talk to. For men, since we have to sell ourselves, and that's one of the worst things about our society is that we have developed the tradition as men, and this is a social stigma that we have to sell ourselves to the women by buying her time and her attention. And I'm telling you guys that right now, I'm not selling shit. You're either in this for the long haul or you're not. You will find out what you're getting when I find out if you're worth it. Because I know my worth. You know how you value yourself, and I know how you value me. I need to know how valuable you are to me before you find out how much I have. Because your attitude will change when you find out how much I have. And that doesn't mean that your attitude is going to change for the better. Your attitude could change for the worse, but you will change when you find out how much I'm really worth. Whether I'm worth more than what you thought or less than what you thought, women will change once the man's estate is put into her line of sight. So I need to know before she finds out what the estate looks like if I am what she's looking for and if she has the value to benefit from what I've got to offer. If I can't find that value in her, I don't give a fuck if I'm what she wants because she's not what I want. But if I can find that value in her, then I need to find out if I am what she wants. Then she will find out what I got to a degree. Now I have cell phones everywhere, but we cannot answer them due to too many scam calls. Well, see, here's the funny thing about self. I don't answer none of my calls. Well, I've got voice text. Remember when we used to have to pay for voice text? Now voice text is free. They call my email, leave a message, I get a text message. I read the text message. If I find key information in the text message that makes me call the person back, then I'll call them back. Everybody that I want to talk to is identified on my caller ID. So if you're a random phone number with no name, no affiliation to me, you are selling me something, which is why we would exchange contacts. Because if you give me your number so that I can save you in my phone, and I give you my number so that you can save me in your phone, when you reach out to me, your name should come up on my screen, which will give me your valuable notice. I had a contract that I was supposed to be signing today. I saved the guy on my phone 2 days ago as answer this call. So when caller ID popped up, the phone said, answer this call. And I picked up the phone. What's going on, Drew? He knew that I knew who he was because I saved him in the phone. Now, a random 10-digit or 15-digit phone number pops up on it. I'm not even going to answer. One in my class asked about me to one of her coworkers that knew me in the past that said I was cool. She told me, and I didn't have to sell anything. I was uninterested because of how she acts. Selling yourself is not necessary. I don't do that. That's one of the things I tell you. But see, Steve, you and I come from a different era. Back to the kids at prom. You're selling yourself when you're trying to paint a persona that other people will accept. When you are who you are, whether people like you or not, you're not trying to sell yourself. If you are picking apart this conversation to determine the value of the person that you're talking to determine if you are willing to continue communicating with that person, you're not selling yourself. But if you're that guy that says, I like you, I want to take you out, what would you like to eat, where would you like to go, you're selling yourself. If you're that guy that decides that even if you're going to pick an expensive restaurant, not something normal, you're selling yourself. If you're that guy that has to go out and buy a new outfit to take the girl out on a date, you're selling yourself. If you're that guy that's going to try to take her somewhere to impress her, even if it's a yacht party, even if it's a concert that you know is her favorite concert that's in town right now, you're going to buy tickets and make that your first date. You're impressing her. You're selling yourself. Starbucks, McDonald's drive-in, Wendy's, Sonic, a park, beach, lakefront, um, a safe distance from a nearby cliff to watch the sunset or the sunrise, a walk in a neighborhood, bike ride. These are things that are normal, that are not selling yourself. She's down, she's down. She's not down, she's not worth it. You might like cheesecake, and if you're going to the Cheesecake Factory and she don't want to go to the Cheesecake Factory, you're still going. You're not gonna stop going to the Cheesecake Factory and start going to Olive Garden because she doesn't like the Cheesecake Factory. The funny thing is that everybody's selling themselves, whether they know it or not. That's what I'm pointing out. A lot of us don't realize that we're selling ourselves. I actually catch myself these days and I stop it. I put a stop to it. Because there was one time a few months ago, just recently, but I was talking to like 5 or 6 college girls, right? And while we were talking, I started going into too many details about what I do with my job overseas. I realized I was promoting the work that I do overseas as part of my identity, and I just cut it short. I didn't tell them deliberately all of the things that I do and how much money I make and where the money exactly comes from, but I realized I was volunteering too much information about what I do for work overseas, and the fact that it is overseas is a prestigious observation, and that would be self-stuff. You know, for Stephen to say, "Hey, I work at a warehouse," you ain't selling yourself. That's what the fuck you do. I work at a warehouse that makes X, Y, and Z and ships it to. You're selling yourself. Because all the details don't matter of whether or not you're a nice guy, whether or not you give a shit about her. All those details emphasizes the work that you do to bring prestige to the work that you do, because you self-identify prestigiously from the work that you do. Your occupation is part of your identity. So when I caught myself doing it, I just covered this. I can try again with interacting with other individuals. I have to remember less is more. Less is more. If I have no value in you, you don't need to know the details. You know, one of the lessons that you learn with situations like this is that in loud alcohol heavy context, you're going to downshift the meanings that you assign to physical closeness. Because if they're falling on you and talking loud and they're leaning in and all of this other stuff because you guys are in a loud, closely packed, highly interactive situation, you don't want to overplay the behavior patterns as they're into you when they're just loud and extroverted, right? Scenario B is say like a study group or a meetup or a workshop, no loud music, more formal energy, right? You notice a woman who, with everyone else, is fairly quiet, small gestures, limited eye contact. Her baseline is a bit reserved, right? Now, with you, after some conversation, she's holding eye contact a lot longer with you than anyone else. She's slightly leaning in. You know, she's asking you 2 or 3 follow-up questions. You know, stays put instead of leaving when she has a chance. Even when the conversation dies, even if the conversation goes stale, y'all run out of stuff to talk about, she lingers. She doesn't just get up and walk away. She doesn't make an excuse to remove herself. Low energy environment, sober, structured. You're looking at the cluster. Given her baseline, those small changes, more eye contact with you, more questions, lingering, form a comfort/interest cluster. You're going to run a test on this, a light verbal test, something like, I'm going to grab a coffee after this. You're welcome to join me. A lot of times, if we're hanging out somewhere that doesn't have food, I'm going to go eat after this. Would you like to come with? Right? And you're actually going to go eat, whether she goes with you or not. A lot of guys will put that offer out there and say, oh, yeah, we're, last call, we're going to close our tab out and we're going to go to the IHOP or we're going to go the Denny's, or we're gonna go to the Waffle House, or we're gonna go to the casino and eat at the buffet or whatever like that. Oh, you want to come? And then if she says no, you get in the car and drive straight to your house. You are not articulating this with intent, because you're not gonna go if she doesn't go, and she can tell that in your voice. So if you're honestly gonna go, whether she goes or not, this is what I plan on doing. Do you want to stay with me or not? Right? And she will articulate that. He said, that work is not prestigious. It would be like Dave Chappelle was playing a janitor, calling himself a custodial professional if I tried to dress up my job title in a conversation. Well, a garbage man can be a waste management engineer, and the word engineer sounds prestigious, even if all you're doing is picking up trash on the side of the road. You could be a person on the Lakers team, not a player, but the janitor. You could be the guy that cleans the toilets for the team. You can work at the Lakers stadium and self-identify as part of the team, because technically you are, but you're not one of the players. So when I said, you could over articulate your employment, putting too much detail into what you do and why you do it in a communication with other people is a form of self-selling and promotion. Like, for example, if you were a manager at a restaurant, let's say McDonald's, recognize the difference between somebody saying, oh, so you're up overnight on a regular basis. What do you do? I'm a night shift manager. That's it. I'm a night shift manager. Now, selling yourself. Yeah, I'm a night shift manager at the McDonald's. I run the skeleton crew. We do 5 times more sales than day shift with half the people, da 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 da. With all of that extra detail that doesn't bring any value to the conversation at all, those extra details as you selling yourself. Because if you're a teacher, you're a teacher. If you're a bus driver, you're a bus driver. If you're a trash picker-upper, you're a trash picker-upper. Right? When your job title comes with a description of the actions during the performance of the job, you're selling yourself. That's what I'm referring to. Trader says, you could tell the women in college who were taking the education seriously, studying in the library and not looking for a hookup. Yes. So here's one of the things, because I teach. Actually, now I'm a big stickler about the women in college, because the behavior patterns of college girls must be that of reasonable maturity. So if they're acting like children and you're in college, I don't want to talk to you. If you got your stuff together and you really want to succeed, I might find some interest. But also, I find myself in situations where if you're completely lost and misguided, and I have to be your mentor, I don't have it in me right now. Like when I told you guys a story about the 2 girls from T-Mobile, the short, cute one that I really, back in the day, I would have tried to hook up with this girl, and neither girl would fit my status at this point. Not my social status, my status of expectation, because one of them was married, so not the other one. The other one was so look, I seen a long pause. The first one that I was looking for was married, and I'm not going to talk to the married girl, but the other one was more attractive, more reserved, but she was willingly ditzy, and she knew, which is why I say willingly ditzy. She told me as a college student that she has a high school student helping her with her college work because she doesn't know how to count at all. But her job at this phone company is to work the cash register, where your job is to count. Luckily, it is a credit card machine. So since the computer is doing all the work for you, you kind of can't fuck the price up. But my problem is that if I would be interacting with this person, I would be from a mentor perspective because she would need somebody to teach her how to count, and I would only be there to teach her how to count. So if I hooked up with her, that would be a relationship of convenience because she would be learning how to count to get out of nursing school while I'm getting laid. Once she no longer needs to know how to count, my value from her is not going to be there anymore. So that's one of the reasons why I'm like, I don't see long-term satisfaction. I see short-term gratification. So being able to observe that, you're able to tell the difference between the ones you want to pursue versus the ones that back in the day you would have only chased them just to get laid. You also nowadays, now that we're dealing with emotional intelligence, you can look at some women that just look fucking exhausted, bags under their eyes and shit. Like, I don't know who kids you be babysitting that night, but you need a nap kind of look on their face. I'm not even gonna try to talk to you. You need to go take a nap. So, well, what if that's their natural eyes? Well, then you naturally need to take your ass to sleep because it looked like you be up all night and up all day, and I'd be up all night and up all day with no bags under my eyes. So I know that if you got bags under your eyes, you are either highly stressed or overworked, and there is no room in your life for me. So now I'm looking at behavior patterns, certain cues, body language, body types, where a overweight girl with no bags under her eyes look well rested and well fed, and she might be a better pick for me because I eat a lot. You know what I mean? Started to pay attention to other shit. Back in the day, it was like, oh, she's attractive. I could see myself sleeping with her. Let me see if I can sleep with her. Nowadays, there's a whole lot more details involved with should I even go over there and talk to the person? Not try to hook up or connect or exchange contact information. Should I even go over there and initiate a dialogue? See, when you watch their behavior patterns, you see if they're going to agree with you and easily follow you to do the things that you want to do. Because if so, that's a solid signal. If they hesitate, if they're making excuses, if they say something vague, like maybe another time, or you have to chase them down to make things happen, it's a sign that you should probably back off. So if the coffee happens, the energy is good. You go to a transparent scenario. You tell them that you like them. You tell them that you want to be more open in meeting them again. And if not, you let them know that it's totally cool. Again, you're going to be giving them an exit, but you're going to rely more on the clear words than on trying to uh, phrase every eyebrow twitch as a response. Seema says, I left a 20% tip in cash, and the waitress took forever to figure it out. There was not a machine doing it for her. She also had a calculator on her phone. Math skills went to the wayside. Sheesh. And as attractive as that girl might have been, the whole time that you were at that restaurant being served on by her, you might have had the thought going through your mind, even if it was ever so slightly, that if the situation would have been favorable, you wouldn't object to sleeping with that kind of girl, right? Until the math thing came up. Then you were like, fuck that shit. I don't care how good the sex is. That type of mathematical problematic scenario would prevent me from being financially stable because she would be the one that would miscalculate the money in the bank and buy something that she's not supposed to buy. And oops, my bad. And now I've got to rob Peter to pay Paul to put the money back to cover a bill that should have automatically gotten paid because she ain't counting the bank right. Trying to told you. So a lot of times you don't got to get a run out there as soon as you see him. Oh, she's cute. Let me go over there and talk to her. No, let me see how well she run this register real quick. Let me see how she talked to the first 5 guys that's over there. Let me see how she interact with the people that she's interacting with before I even superimpose myself in the situation to decide to talk to her. Let me see. Does she look stressed? Does she look overworked? Does she look overwhelmed? Because if that's the lifestyle that she got before I get involved in it, I don't want none of that in my lifestyle. You understand? So we got to really start paying attention to more than just I can sleep with it, right? The lesson here is that when you recognize from a shy or neurodivergent person, proximity and consistence is going to be yeses to low stake invites that matter more than Hollywood style flirting. Trader says, I never considered girls' math skills. Shit. With all the females that want $100,000 a year, man, and these females can't count to 50, their math skills are heavily important. But these females that looking for 6'1" and they don't even know how to count the 6'1" in inches. We need some. What is 6'1" in centimeters? These females don't know. You need to rethink the situation that you're getting into, because you got to understand one of the biggest problems men have had over the generations is that we have no standards that we stick to. Our standards has always been that she puts out and doesn't get on our fucking nerves. That is it. She don't gotta cook. She don't gotta clean. She don't gotta take care of kids. She doesn't have to be financially responsible. She doesn't have to work. She does not have to provide anything. She doesn't have to do anything for the man. The man can be self-sufficient or suffer until he has not and do without, as long as the sex is good and she doesn't get on his fucking nerves. And then we commit to the woman who doesn't put out and gets on your fucking nerves, because the sex used to be good 20 years ago, and that is the only thing that you can remember is why are you even here now? It's because it used to be good, and now you're so far financially invested that you can't leave because you don't want to have to split all of your assets with her. But if you'd been paying attention to them fucking math skills, then you ask yourself, remember I told y'all the statistics. About 51% of a man's income goes to the woman, right? Now, out of that, she only take about 23% of it. There's another like 19% or so of income that she gets from her man that does not sustain her standard of living, which ultimately means that more than half of your income is going to this woman, and only a quarter of what she gets actually benefits her. The rest of the money that you get is wasted from somebody's irresponsibility, whether it's yours, hers, or both of y'all, because either she's wasting the money or you're wasting the money trying to impress her. You're wasting the money trying to get her shit that she wants because she can't afford to pay for it herself, but you can't afford to pay for it neither. So you're going to rob Peter to pay Paul to get it for her so that she can value what you got her, not value you as a person. So, oh, he loves me because he's buying me all of these things. But how much did that shit cost? She doesn't care because she doesn't have to pay for it. She gets to use it. She gets to benefit from it. She gets to show off with it, but she doesn't have to pay for it. Women are selfish. Men are inconsiderate. Remember that. Trader says true. Most guys have low standards when it comes to dating. We do. And the little bit of standards that men have, women don't like them. So we say, well, we don't want a woman that's excessively overweight. Oh, why do you have to do that? Because that puts responsibility on women to be healthy, right? Then, like, we're held to standards that we can't even control. We've got to be 6'5" Caucasian males making over $100,000 a year. Those are two out of three of those stipulations I can't change in my lifetime. I'll never become a Caucasian male, and I'll never become above 5'6.25". So there's no way I'm going to meet 6'1", 6'2", 6'3". So when they put certain standards out there, they are deliberately excluding qualifiable candidates. And there is no possible way to change that. Now, After she done been ran through by the entire NFL and the entire NBA, then she's gonna lower her standards to a guy that at least has a good job, 50 to 55,000 a year. She might lower her standards down to the kind of guy that is at least her height without heels, so that when she's wearing heels, she don't care that she's a little bit taller than him. She'll lower her standards, but she will lower her standards as her value goes down. She's not going to lower her standards while her value is up. While she is able to be approached by 6'4" men, she's not going to talk to a 5'6" guy. He's beneath her, figuratively and literally. While guys that are willing to take her places with $100,000 a year income, she's going to want to expect men that have $100,000 incomes to talk to her, right? But guys really just say, hey, don't get on my fucking nerves and put out. And some guys are needy by saying, don't let me die because I sacrificed myself for you. Right? And I say that as needy because, I mean, literally, like feeding a man is servitude now. But if I never eat unless you cook, I will starve to death if you don't feed me because I spent all of my money on you, so I don't have money to buy food for myself. So the least you could do is feed me so that I don't die. And that is needy. Our standards have been devalued so much that keeping your husband alive is asking for too much. And most women put out life insurance policy on their man so that when he dies, she can get all of it so he can starve to death. It's a natural death. Now, scenario C, we got a context of like a barista, like a server or a receptionist, someone whose job is supposed to be polite and warm. Their baseline is that they smile at everybody. This is what they get paid to do. They remember your order. So they remember things about you. They make friends and they have small talk and they're easily socializable. With you, they do the exact same shit. Most guys are going to think, well, she remembered my name and she smiles when she saw me, so she must be into me. What you need to do is remember that her role demands that type of behavior. That's part of her professional baseline, which is why you cannot turn a stripper or an escort or one of those bikini girls at the bikini bars into a wife, because her job is to be overly friendly with guys so that she can get money. So you cannot assume that because she's overly friendly with you, that she is any different with you than the other guy. Right? So you do not corner her at work. You do not interpret required warmth as romantic interest. If you ever choose to invite, you do it in a way that is easy to ignore. For example, I don't want to make work weird at all, but if workplace rules allow it, and you ever actually wanted to grab a coffee off the clock, I'll leave my number on the receipt. No expectations whatsoever. Then you never bring it up again. You let her decide in her own time or never. Now, you do that, that's going to put the situation on you to answer random phone numbers just in case it might be her. But the key lesson is going to be that when there's a power or role dynamic, you default to learning cues where you're not pursuing, because a power dynamic or a power role is going to be that you're in the authoritarian position. She is in position of servitude as the server, cashier, or barista or whatever. She's supposed to be polite, respectful, and courteous, and you're taking that as romantic gestures when she's just doing her job. You need to default to not pursuing that girl, or at minimum, making the opt out extremely easy for her. So if you really like her, because I mean, some of the best girls to date are ones that got a fucking job or they're already at work when you met them, because those are the ones that are being fucking responsible about their shit. So you know you really like the waitress, just give her an out. Leave your number on leave your number on the thing. Communicate with her though, but leave your number on the receipt and give her the option to send you a text message and see what's up. Um, these scenarios should give you guys a feel for how the same framework plays out in different situations depending on the context. If you scan, cluster, and then text, and then verbalize. So scan, cluster, test, verbalize. And throughout all of it, comfort over outcome is supposed to be the goal. Your goal is not to have the outcome of locking in a phone number or securing a date. Your goal is to make sure that you're comfortable and they're comfortable too. If they don't look comfortable, even if you're misperceiving it as a lack of comfort, you treat it as a lack of comfort and retreat. If they look comfortable, but you're not sure, you get the confirmation. Without that confirmation, you assume the lack of comfort and you retreat. If they see your retreat and they advance, then you understand that they're okay with your presence. Comfort over outcome. All right. Now we're coming up on the end of the show here, so let's tie this all together and give you guys something that you can actually do over the next week. You learn that the baseline is everything. Without it, you're just projecting. You learn to stop acting on single signals and to start looking for clusters. You learn to put someone's comfort above your desires for a win. You learn how your own brain lies to you when you want something so badly that you just can't believe that it's not yours. And then you saw how to run the 4-step system in realistic situations. Now, this isn't about becoming a human lie detector. It's going to be about becoming grounded, ethical, self-aware men who do not need to cling to fantasies. So here's going to be your assignment if you actually want to stick to this. Over the next 7 days, first and second days, you want to do baseline drills. Once a day, in a public place, pick 1 or 2 people, watch their baseline for a couple minutes. Ask yourself, what would count as a real change for that person? Days 3 and 4, cluster drills. Watch a group and pick 1 person who looks very comfortable and 1 person who looks like they want to leave the situation. List 3 signals for each one. Days 5 and 7, your thought cross-exam. Anytime you catch yourself thinking they are definitely into me, you want to write it down. What they actually did that proves that they're into you. 2 non-romantic explanations that could debunk this theory, and then any discomfort signals that you might be ignoring. If you do that for a week, you will literally feel your social intuition recalibrate. So if you made it this far about the body language and ethics, you're not looking for shortcuts. You're trying to grow. And that alone puts you in a tiny minority of individuals that are actually trying to become better at who they are and what they do. Which one of the reasons why I cover this topic is because ultimately when we start making better decisions with the people that we interact with, we save a lot of money. Because if you start your interactions with somebody by leading with your wallet means offering to pay for activities and events for you to determine if the person likes you. You need to determine if the person likes you before you offer to pay for them. You need to determine that the person has some level of value to you before you offer to pay for them. So you shouldn't be inviting them to a situation that you are going to pay for if you don't even know if they are interested in you, or even you have interest in them that is valuable. Because if your interest is just sex and you can't find any other value in them, there's no reason for you to pursue the situation outside of short-term gratification. The natural next step from here is learning how to make a strong first impression without overcompensating, which is what we were talking about before. When you start describing yourself, your occupation, or anything related to you, that you do not overcompensate by presenting too many unnecessary details for a complete stranger who does not need to know the ins and outs of your operation. You need to be able to understand how to be present, how to be calm, and attractive without turning into a caricature of confidence. So if you want that, you want to stay tuned for some of the upcoming shows that we have, because we're going to be breaking down first impressions from the ground up, what actually matters in the first 30 seconds, and what you can safely ignore, which this also works on a professional level. So we're going to be talking about that coming soon. For now, you guys have to pay attention to doing the uncomfortable work of looking at your own patterns and remembering, stop looking for a secret code and start learning to observe reality. The signs are there. Your job is just to see them clearly and respond with respect. All right. Now, that was a lot of information. I spun that mid-show to make sure that y'all had a lot of new information. We've got more stuff coming up for the rest of the week. I am starting to make sure that we got some stuff going into the membership. So make sure that you guys that are in the membership, y'all take a look at it. Those of you that is not there, y'all probably should go there. And then we will, I want to say Saturday, I should have Monday and Tuesday up by Saturday night. So I'm going to remind you guys on Sunday to make sure that y'all hit the notification buttons on Mondays and Tuesdays for the upcoming weeks, to make sure that you have the whole schedule lined up. And I'm going to be double checking the schedule while I'm adding more shows to make sure that all of the shows are where you guys can find them, for y'all to hit the notification button so y'all don't miss out on nothing that we got coming up. With that being said, I'm going to start off by saying, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you ladies to make it make sense. So ladies, please make it make sense. Fellas, I give y'all this information to make y'all higher value men. Prioritizing the things in your life that are inside of your control, changing the things you don't like, and then navigating around the things that you cannot control allows you to be more successful and have a more enjoyable life. Taking this information that I gave you today allows for you to observe the behavior patterns of another person, see that they don't like you without them actually saying that they don't like you, and removing yourself from the situation before they decide to embarrass you because they wanted you to leave a long time ago when you didn't pay attention, right? This also prevents you from being in a situation where you have to buy their time and buy their attention and convince them to stay. If they don't want to be here, you can proposition and bribe people to stay, but that is a waste of money and resources and effort. And it ultimately leads to a long-term failure, because your return on investment will be short-term gratification at best and short-term financial failure at worst. Now, ladies, while this is a male-driven podcast from the male's perspective, you too can make yourselves higher value women by paying attention to the information that I'm giving you and utilizing it to make sure that you're curating higher value men. In addition to that, paying attention to your 20 and 30-year plans, reverse engineering that so that you can proactively today start putting forth the effort into achieving those goals, keeping your eyes and ears open for that man with the good personality, characteristics, drive, ambition, dedication, motivation, and integrity to accomplish his own goals, where you can observe his goals and see if his goals mesh with your goals. Because while you don't have to have the same goal, if you both have similar goals of long-term satisfaction versus short-term gratification, you have a partner that you can grow with. And I tell you guys on a regular basis that two people can make it to $1 million faster than one, but it requires both of you to hold and maintain the mentality of long-term satisfaction over short-term gratification. Because if one of you is saving and investing while the other one is wasting the money, you will never meet those goals. Because the faster the money leaves the household, the more you have to subsidize the money that left with the money that you was going to invest on other things, which limits your ability to invest based on the spending habits of your partner or yourself. So pay attention to that. Now, that's all I've got for you guys for tonight. I want to give a special shout out to Michael Steven and FX Trader. I want to thank you guys for coming to this and that. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I will see you guys tomorrow.
chase validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt upon the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher, constantly making my own climb. Standing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. I'm not mounted on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never yield.